Should we make a start?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you guys start, I'm going to be on mute. I have to feed my baby's head, so you guys go ahead.
Okay. Would someone like to kick off the reading?
Sure, I can.
Okay, thanks, Cheryl.
Alrighty. So chapter 4, the first principle in the science of getting rich. Thought is the only power that can produce tangible riches from the formless substance. The stuff from which all things are made is a substance which thinks. A thought of form in this substance produces the form. Original substance moves according to its thoughts. Every form and process you see in nature is the visible expression of a thought in the original substance. As it thinks of a form, it takes that form. As it thinks of a motion, it makes that motion. That is the way all things were created. We live in a thought world, and this world is a part of a thought universe. The original thought of a moving universe first extended throughout the formless substance. The thinking stuff resulted from that thought, took the form of systems of planets, and continues to maintain that form. Thinking substance takes the form of its thought and moves according to the thought. Holding the idea of a circling system of suns and worlds, it took the form of these bodies and moved them accordingly. Although centuries may be required to do the work, by thinking the form of a slow-growing tree, the formless substance produces the tree. In creating, the formless substance seems to move according to the lines of motion it has established. The thought of an oak tree does not cause the instant formation of a full-grown tree, but it does start in motion the forces which will produce the tree along established lines of growth. Every thought of form held in thinking substance causes the creation of that form, but always, or at least generally, along lines of growth and action already established. If the thought of a house of a certain construction were impressed upon the formless substance, it might not cause the instant formation of that house, but it would cause the turning of creative energies already working in trade and commerce into such channels as to result in the speedy building of that house. And if there were no existing channels through which the creative energy could work, the house would be formed directly from primal substance, without waiting for the slow processes of the organic and inorganic world. No thought of form can be impressed upon the original substance without causing the creation of that form. A human being is a thinking center and can originate thought. All the forms that a person fashions with his or her hands must first emerge from thought. An individual cannot shape a thing until that same individual has thought that thing. And so far as the human race has confined its efforts wholly to the work of its hands, it has applied manual labor to the world of forms, seeking to change or modify already existing forms. Our human race has never thought of trying to cause the creation of new forms by impressing thought upon the formless substance. When individuals have a thought form, they take material from the forms of nature and make an image of the form which is in the mind. They have, so far, made little or no effort to cooperate with the formless intelligence, to work with the Father. They have not dreamed that they can do what they have seen the Father doing. Mankind reshapes and modifies existing forms by manual labor. We have not considered the question of whether we could produce things from the formless substance by communicating our thoughts to it. I propose to prove that we may do so, to prove that any man or woman may do so, and to show how. My first step will be to lay down 3 fundamental propositions. Someone else like to read?
Sure. First, we assert that there is one original formless substance from which all things are made. All the seemingly many elements are only different presentations of one element. All the many forms found in organic and inorganic nature are only different shapes made from the same stuff. And this stuff is thinking stuff. A thought held in in it produces a form of the thought. Thought and thinking substance produces shapes. A human being is a thinking center, capable of original thought. If any one of us can communicate our thought to original thinking substance, we can cause the creation or formation of the thing we think about. To summarize this, there is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the things that it is imagined by the thought. You can form things in your thought, and by impressing your thought upon formless substance, can cause the thing you think about to be created. I can prove these statements by both logic and experience. Reasoning back to the phenomenon of form and thought, I come to one original thinking substance. And reasoning forward from this thinking substance, I come to the individual's power to cause the formation of the thing one thinks about. By experiment, I find the reasoning to be true, and this is my strongest proof. If one person who listens to this program gets rich by doing what I say to do, that is evidence in support of my claim. Furthermore, if every person who does what I say to do gets rich, that is positive proof until someone goes through the process and fails. The theory is true until the process fails, and this process will not fail because every person who does exactly what I say to do will get rich. I have said that an individual gets rich by doing things in a certain way. In order to do so, you must become able to think in a certain way. Your way of doing things is a direct result of the way you think about things. To do things in a way you want to do them, you will have to acquire the ability to think the way you want to think. This is the first step towards getting rich. To think what you want to think is to think truth regardless of appearances. You have the natural and inherent power to think what you want to think, but it requires far more effort to do than it does to think the thoughts which are suggested by appearances. To think according to appearances is easy. To think truth regardless of appearances is laborious and requires the expenditure of more power than any other work you have to perform. There is no labor from which most people shrink as they do from that of sustained and consecutive thought. It is the hardest work in the world. It is especially true when truth is contrary to appearances. Every appearance in visible world tends to produce a corresponding form in the mind which observes it. This can only be prevented by holding the thought of the truth. Okay, next. Okay, I can continue. To look upon the appearances of disease, it will produce a form of disease in your own mind, and ultimately in your body. Unless you must hold the thought of the truth, which is that there is no disease. Disease is only an appearance, and the reality is health. To look upon the appearances of poverty will produce the corresponding forms in your own mind. Instead, you must hold to the truth that there is no poverty. There is only abundance. It requires power to think health when surrounded by the appearance of disease, or to think riches when in the midst of the appearances of poverty. But when you acquire this power, you become a mastermind. You can conquer fate. You can have what you want. This power can only be acquired by getting hold of the basic fact which is behind all appearances, that there is one thinking substance from which and by which all things are made. Then we must grasp the truth that every thought held in this substance becomes a form, and that a person can impress thoughts upon it is to cause them to take form and become visible things. When we realize this, we lose all doubt and fear because we know that we can create what we want to create. We can get what we want to have and can become what we want to be. As a first step towards getting rich, we must believe the three fundamental statements given previously in this chapter. In order to emphasize them, I will repeat them here. There is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces a thing that is imagined by the thought. You can form things in your thought, and by impressing thought upon formless substance can cause a thing you think about to be created. You must lay aside all other concepts of the universe than this monistic one. You must dwell upon this until it is fixed in your mind and has become your habitual thought. Read these creed statements over and over again. Fix every word upon your memory and meditate upon them until you firmly believe what they say. If a doubt comes to you, cast it aside as a sin. Do not listen to arguments against this idea. Do not go to churches or lectures where a contrary concept of things is taught or preached. Do not read magazines or books which teach a different idea. If you get mixed up in your faith, all your efforts will be in vain. Do not ask why these things are true, nor speculate as to how they can be true. Simply take them on trust. The science of getting rich begins with the absolute acceptance of this faith. The end.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, what a tongue twister.
Mm-hmm.
Reading some of these, it was like, holy.
Okay, so what is the first step towards getting rich?
Thought.
Sorry, guys, I didn't realize I had muted myself with my headphones. It's in a really bad spot. I keep leaning on it. It goes in between my thigh and the arm of my chair and gets pressed. And I'm sitting here, I'll read. Okay, I won't read.
That what happened. That's what Okay, so what was that? The first step of getting rich?
I was going to say thinking.
Or was it faith that a thought held in you?
Pardon me?
Or is it the faith that the science of rich begins with the absolute acceptance of this faith? Do you think maybe that's what they're trying to get at there?
Yeah, I think you've got a good point there, Cheryl, actually, because without belief it can't happen, can it?
Yeah. So the very last line in the chapter, it says it begins with the absolute acceptance of this faith.
And it tells us to meditate on it until we firmly believe it.
Right.
And I also had written down there the line 104 where it says to do things in a way you want to do them, you'll have to acquire the ability to think the way you want to think. Because he talks about doing things in a certain way, but then he tells us here that to think what you want to think is to think truth regardless of appearances. And he says later on that to do what we need to do in a certain way, first we need to think like that, because when you think that way, then the action comes. So it's, where does he say it, where he's saying that it's really difficult to, here in 112, to think truth regardless of appearances is laborious and requires the expenditure of more power than any other work you have to perform. So when you're looking around and see that you've got bills sitting on the table that haven't been paid, it's really difficult to think in terms of prosperity. And so they're getting hold of the way you think as to what you're thinking on the inside instead of what you're seeing on the outside is the biggest hurdle, I think, for me anyway.
Yeah, I know I find the same thing. And I read somewhere this week that someone said, if you're so busy with thinking of the things that you need to do and things going on in your life, there's no room for the universal intelligence to get in there into your heart. You're just giving off like busy stuff all the time, right? Instead of so the universal intelligence can't listen to you when you've got all this busy stuff going on all the time.
I'm going to explain that to my husband when I don't go out and mow the lawn or weed.
I'm getting UI in.
Good.
Thank you. I keep hacking, honey. That's busy work.
That's cool.
You know, one of the things that I tend to be somewhat of a literal person, and where I get hung up is on the words, because in this chapter he talks about formless substance, original substance, thought universe, thinking substance, original formless substance, original thinking substance, and formless intelligence.
Yeah.
And so, aren't they all the same thing?
Yeah.
I would think so.
I think he's probably just trying to get your mind a little bit plastic around what it is, rather than having one specific concept. Like, I don't think he wants to make his idea of what it is stick, so he's using different terms to make it a bit more pliable for you in your mind.
Okay, and for me, I'm trying to understand the differences at times, and I get confused. Then it's like, no, I think they're all just the same. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the other part of the first step is, thinking, and then having faith in the thinking does work. Because if you're going to have faith, you have to have faith in something, and the thing we have to have faith in is in the first step, which is thinking. And that, if we impress the thinking on the formless substance, it'll come to fruition. And he says, don't question it, just accept this as faith. So that's what I had as the first step.
Yeah, I agree. And it's good that we all do lots of reading, because it takes quite a bit when you haven't come across that concept before to really take that in and go, okay, so what I think about makes things happen. It's kind of like magic. So keep reading and keep studying, keep talking to each other, and don't let people around you who don't believe it influence your thoughts on it, because it's a hard thing to get solidified in your mind, and any little distraction from it or contradiction, and that's why he says in here not to read other material or go see a preacher or whatever who contradicts what this is saying, because it's so easy to fall back into the same thinking as before, where this wasn't actually a concept that you understood or even had heard of.
Yep.
Yeah, because it really is the belief that makes it happen. Somehow that's just how it works. When you really believe it, that's when it starts to happen.
Yep. And I notice in here he doesn't mention about the emotion. Oftentimes they say, like when you're doing affirmations, you can say the words all you want, but until you have the emotion with it, that's when it gets impressed on your subconscious mind or the universe or formless substance. So I'm just wondering if like what we've read in the Think and Grow Rich about the importance of emotion. But he doesn't mention that so far. Maybe he does further on, but he doesn't in this.
He does make the point of saying that just the way that he says how hard it is to think the way you want things to be rather than the way they are, implies that it's quite a difficult thing to do. I can't remember if he does talk about emotion here. Maybe that wasn't something that he had thought of at the time, but I do know that emotion is the language of the subconscious mind. So if you can use emotion to get that into your subconscious mind, which causes your actions, that's the way that works.
Well put. Okay, I wrote it down. Emotion is the language of the subconscious mind. I like that.
Yeah, it's emotion and also images.
Yes.
And the other one is metaphors. That's why a lot of the Bible is written in metaphoric language, because it's subconscious thinking.
Oh.
So a good way to get a message across to someone is to tell them a metaphor about the idea that you're trying to get over to them, and their subconscious mind will pick up on the point that you're trying to make.
That explains why Rooney is so good at this.
Yeah, more like a story, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
Yeah.
right. So he'll if he can word his stories in such a way to get an underlying meaning through, he'll be very successful in helping people to get things straight into their subconscious minds.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Now, did you learn that from like the Joseph Murphy, the power of the subconscious mind, about the language?
I do NLP, so I learned that through NLP techniques.
Oh, okay.
And that's all about programming the subconscious mind.
Oh.
Yeah. Neuro-linguistic programming is the full term of it.
Nicole, me too. I'm NLP trained.
Yeah, so this comes into it a lot, doesn't it? It can give you some techniques to use to get the messages through to the sub a little bit faster.
Yeah. And I was also thinking, if it was because there's no emotions involved, and I'm thinking, that's a good question. There's no emotion. But then when you were saying that, yes, it's the emotion that gets us to take action, yes. And then I'm thinking, well, there are some people who just do things and it's not something emotional for them. Like, I want to achieve something because I want to prove something. Those people, they have no emotion into it, but they just want to prove themselves.
there's emotion there of pride or accomplishment or something, don't you
Or
think?
could be then, yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Could be, yeah. Because I'm thinking, there's no emotion, but very often people do things without the emotions. I'm like, like I'm thinking about myself, right? Like, yeah, I just want to prove myself. I just want to do something or get like over with that thing or whatever it is, right? But yeah, you're right. Could be frustration, could be several stuff, emotions, yeah.
Well, you know what? While we're talking about emotions, I want to tell you the story that I was so excited to tell you about. Because I think it was about being on a higher vibration, because I was really happy. So everybody that has listened to me before knows how much I love music. So I was down at the river yesterday, and I was listening to my tunes, and I was I've got recorded all my favorites, and I was just like, grooving and stuff. I was so happy. I love my music. And I don't know which group it was in. The other day, somebody mentioned about how Bob had said that he's gotten his kids to make clouds disappear. And I had tried that a long time ago after listening to one of his seminars. And of course, I couldn't do it. So I was really quite, frustrated and down about it. But because it was brought up in one of the groups the other day, I thought, okay, I'm going to try it again. So while I was at the river yesterday and listening to my tunes and in a really, really great mood, I tried to make a cloud disappear. And I did it. And I'm going,
Yay!
oh my God. And I'm making this cloud disappear. I can't believe it. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, like, do I really believe this? And I think, well, no, I have to believe this. And I thought, well, maybe I should just make another one disappear, just to convince myself that this wasn't a freak accident. But then I thought, well, no, what if it doesn't work? Then I'm going to be disappointed all over again. And I thought, no, I got to do this so that I believe. And you know what? I made another one disappear. I just could not believe it, you guys.
That's awesome. It's all happening to you, isn't it, Cheryl?
It was just all because of the high vibration I was in, as opposed to last time where I was just sitting there, you know, just on an even plane going, okay, well, I'll try this. But this time and you know what? And I don't think I believed anymore that when I first started out trying it yesterday than I had the time before. It's just that I was in such a high vibration that it worked.
That's awesome. Love
I'm going to try it.
It was unbelievable.
Nice.
I was performing magic.
Yeah, so look how powerful our thoughts, our energy is.
Yeah.
You can disperse energy.
So then I thought, well, you know what? I think I better be asking for something right now.
Yeah.
So I did. But you know what? I got a message yesterday, like, and I was looking for something, you know, that I told myself something's gonna happen in the next 24 hours. I'm gonna get something unexpected, and I got it.
Wow.
So it was just absolutely unbelievable.
That's brilliant.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so I thought I would bring it up while we were talking about the emotions, because I think I've been trying way too hard. I think you have to just be happy as much as you can to be able to make things manifest. So one of the things that came to my mind today was about how my job and how I really am not enjoying it, and you know I just dread having to do it. I'm thinking, you know what, that is bringing my vibration down. I have to find a way to want to do it, to be happy about doing it until something else shows up. Otherwise, nothing else is going to show up.
Yeah, that's right. Then something else will show up.
Yeah,
when you're happy.
something else
Yep.
will show up.
Yeah.
But wasn't it in one, like the impression of increase, or maybe it was the advancing person? I think that's where it was, where it talked about start where you are and do the best you can do at your job, you know, even though it may not be what you want to do.
Exactly. And, you know, I've been doing that, but that hasn't been still making me happy.
Nope.
Like I'm doing what I think I should be doing. That yes, I should be, you know, filling more than my place by doing the best that I can, or more than what is expected, right? But that's not making me happy and raising my vibration.
So Cheryl, if I may ask you a question,
Mm-hmm.
what do you do? And what would you like to do?
Oh,
And
what
love and
do I
hate?
do?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sort of like kind of like an event planner, but a little bit different. I'm called a learning and development officer for a nonprofit organization in the construction industry.
Oh, okay.
And you know what? It's a good job, you know, but it's just my boss makes it a little bit difficult. Like she's quite demanding, you know, and so there's a lot of times where you think you've done something good, and she'll come back and question you on it, kind of thing, and you just go, you're like, come on, you know. But,
Okay. So if it's then your boss, it's not about your job then, Cheryl. There's two things there, right?
Yeah, I guess it's not about the job, but I don't feel like I'm helping millions of people, you know?
Because, you know, because I'm going to tell you, because I want to do the same thing too as well, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to share with you what I have discovered. And again, this is like after, well, I'm not working in the job, it's just after the fact, right? So I have been working in the financial industry before. And, oh my God, it was so stressful, right? And as much as you want to make the boss happy, I wasn't happy, right? And the thing is, I knew deep down I could offer more, I could do more.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think on the outside, now where I am now, because I'm not there anymore, right? But now where I am now, that job wasn't helping me fulfilling what I want to do, which is, what you say, helping other people.
Yes.
I was helping the company making loads of money, but I wasn't helping other people.
Yeah. Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying. Like, I don't feel, that's why I was saying, I'm not helping like millions of people. I'm just I'm making the boss happy.
Yeah.
Rather than making people happy. And I'm not fulfilled.
Yeah. So that's, yeah. So it's not, it could be about the job too, but if you go from one job to another job, but do the same thing, it's about what it is, right?
Yeah.
But the thing, because one thing I realized is I was just a cog in the wheel for them.
Yes, exactly.
And you were just pinpoint, like pigeonhole to do what you were told to do. But I wanted to do much more, and there was no room for me to grow. Right? So, I think that's where you could be where I was before, because I was like, oh my God, I could do more.
Yeah. Well, I know there's more that I want to do. I just don't know what it is yet. And so that's kind of where I've been stuck, I think. That is like, I don't know what my talent or gift or whatever it is that I'm supposed to be bringing. So in the meantime, I just have to be trying and raise my vibration around what it is that I do now, so that it will show up.
So can I give you a suggestion?
Sure.
Okay. Because I know exactly what you're talking about.
Well.
So I discovered mine. I really discovered mine through my own personal growth. Yes, vibration is there and all that, but you also have to have the right group surrounding you. You have to have the right environment, and you have to have the right support.
Mm-hmm.
That's what can help you. Oh, for sure. That's what has helped me a lot. And now in hindsight, I'm saying this because now I realize what mistakes I was doing. Because when you're in there, when you're in the job, like, yeah, I want to do something better. I want, I'm unhappy, but you don't know why, right?
Yeah.
You don't know why. It's like being in a bad relationship. It's not about the husband. It's not about me. It's not about, okay, we have kids and we're fighting, but it's about, are you really happy now? Right? It's like, okay, well, what if your husband just wants you to work and you're at home? Let's say me, right? I have a baby, right? So let's just say if the husband just wants you to be home, but you want to do more. Well, I can be home and be the best mom to my baby and be the best wife to him, but I'm also unhappy. So the environment where I'm working around is not the environment where I will work optimally, right?
Yeah.
So you have to discover that, and that's like, well, that's what I'm offering that later on. But that's what I want to say is, this is what I have learned to use, and have helped me to discover, like, oh my God, what was my passion? What was I was really meant to be? Like, oh my God, I was like a new person. And when you discover that, you're like, oh my God, what the heck was I doing? Yeah. What the heck was I wasting my time or my energy? And I could be like so much faster where I want to be right now.
Yeah, I've heard you mention that before, Nat, and I just haven't gotten there yet. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, oh, sure. Okay, yeah. Because, oh my God, like when I heard that, I was like, ding, 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 ding. And I remember it hit me so much, I was quiet the whole night. And I was like, oh my God, it's not a secret. God, seriously. I was like, no one knows this shit. Oh my God, we're all fighting. Like, oh my God. I'm so happy you shared this, because that's like bringing this up to me, because I was so unhappy. Very, very unhappy. And then like, what, again, it's your surrounding too. Because if your boss, let's say now the next day, let's just say, okay, let's say tomorrow you have a better boss. Okay?
Yeah.
You have an amazing boss, because other companies I had amazing bosses too, but I knew I could always do more, right? I had amazing boss. I could do presentations. I can do whatever I wanted to do. But again, I was constrained within what the boss allowed me to do, because there's only so much that he can allow me to do as well.
Yeah.
Right? So me wanting to, like, to do presentations, to do this, to talk to other people and all that, how the level did I know I was stepping on the people's toes. I was causing stuff, like, like you don't know things, right? So it's your environment, and also the walls where you're working around. Again, comes back to environment for me, right? So again, if my husband says, well, stay home and babysit the baby, well, I want to get out, well, my environment will not allow me. And as much as I want the vibration to be here, yes, it's also the people who you work with, who you're here, unless they change as well, then they realize, oh, she can do better. She can do more than just being at home with the baby. I'm just saying, right? Or Sherry can do much more, right? Then these people also have to change. So then for them to also change, they also have to see something as well, different from you. Right? So the other thing about change, of improving, is this, is when you want to change, and I'm going to share you guys as a story. Is this recorded, guys, or no?
Yes. We can do more of this at the end if you like.
Yeah, I didn't later, but I will share you the story later. Yeah.
Awesome.
But I just wanted to share because now I can talk.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does this make sense?
Yeah, and it's true. As soon as you change your own vibration, the environment has to change to match.
Sorry, yes, definitely. Yeah. Because once that changes, you realize that there's something different or there's something more, and you will always be seeking it. Once you seek, you'll find, and then you keep on questioning or looking for answers, right? And that's where personal growth never ends. I don't know about you guys, but I think personal growth never ends. I started when I was 19, seriously, when I came to Canada.
Well, if you look at Bob, he still studies every day, right? But he's been studying for years.
Yeah, so it is every day. Yeah, so it never goes. Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. So question 2 asks, what is mankind and what power do we have?
I took it from line 43 that we are thinking centers, and the power we have is to originate thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that cool? Isn't that awesome that we can think of something and make it happen? Well, we don't make it happen, I guess. The universe lines it all up according to what we think about. Well, that's even cooler.
Yeah,
We didn't have to think it.
And when you look at line 5, it says original substance moves according to its thoughts. So, you know, if we're thinking centers who originate thoughts and we impress that on the universe, aren't we kind of saying that we are also part of original substance?
Yes.
Yes.
Original substance moves according to its thoughts, which is we're it.
Yeah.
Or part of it.
Yeah. Well,
I just feel so deep.
So what, sorry?
I said, I just feel so deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's true. That's how the universe expands, by universal intelligence being focused through each one of us on various things, having different perspectives and different desires. It's able to have all of these different. How many people are on the planet? You know, it's got so many different perspectives and so many different vibrations going on that it's able to expand in phenomenal ways.
Yep.
I love to find that it's deep, because it makes me think and makes me go deeper. It's the soul searching again, because if you don't do soul searching, I don't know about you guys, but I did soul searching for 5 years before, and I was like, it was painful, but it was good. I'm now at peace. I am where I am right now, but thinking a lot is really, really good. And this is what we should be doing more in society, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot of people walking around completely oblivious, isn't there?
Yeah, like
So in 3 it says, repeat the summary. Do you understand it? Do you believe it? And how can it be proved?
So is he talking about the 3 fundamental statements? Is that the summary he's talking about?
I think I've got 79 written down. Let me see. I think it's from line 79 where he...
Okay, so it's those 3.
Yeah.
Italics. Okay.
Yeah. He goes through them in most of the chapters at the start, and then he stops doing it towards the end.
Okay, I have to read the question again. Sorry. Repeat the summary. Do you understand it? Yes. Do you believe it? Yes. How can it be proved? By getting rich. By disappearing clouds, making clouds disappear.
Yeah. Yep. And it's good to experiment. And I think the more that you trust it in small things and start to see things happen, the more
Exactly.
you
That's
get
why it
faith
was
in
so
the build.
exciting to me, because I think I was resisting, thinking, you know what, I don't know how to do this. It's not going to work for me. And by doing this one little thing and seeing it work, it gave me faith that I maybe didn't have. Maybe I was telling myself consciously that, yeah, I should have faith, because so many people know this. It's worked for other people. It'll work for you. But really, I think deep down, I maybe didn't believe it until I did this. I was able to achieve this little thing. And now I'm going, okay, now I think I believe.
Well, and he says, how can it be proved? Well, he says here, by one person getting rich is proof enough. I just can't remember where I saw that, but...
Yeah, it does.
And what about individually as well? How can we... Because we need to prove it to ourselves. I even take the smallest little... sometimes you're reading something and you go, oh, that's what that is. That's what that means. And you just get that moment of clarity. I take that as proof as well, because I believe that that's universal intelligence getting across to us something that we've been asking. We've been asking for understanding on that, or, be able to work out how to do something. And then all of a sudden it dawns on you and you go, oh, thank you for that.
Getting an answer.
Yeah.
Unexpected.
That's right. And you could just dismiss it and go, oh yeah, now I'm clear on that. That's great. Move on. But you should really acknowledge it and use it to help build your faith because of where it has come from. All of those little things are manifestations of what you've been studying and reading and focusing on and asking for. You don't need to have to wait until you can move a cloud. You can take all of those little sparks of inspiration now and use those to build up to that.
I agree on that.
And I also read somewhere the other day or today that when you're trying to manifest something and you're thinking, well, why isn't it showing up? Then you're showing resistance and it's not going to show up. But if you are open to the universe is showing you things to give you signs that it is going to show up, and they gave an example of, you say, well, you want a relationship, you want to find your soulmate or whatever, and so you see people that are in love, or you see couples together, that universe is showing it to you and telling you it's on the way.
Yeah.
So when you look at that, don't be envious of what other people, because other people have what you want. Be grateful that the universe is showing you, giving you a clue that it's on the way.
Yeah,
Aww.
That's a really good way of thinking about it. And do we understand it? It's pretty complicated, some parts.
Yeah, it is.
Or is that just us complicating it?
Well, it seems like it should be so simple, but like we think millions of thoughts every second, right? And so catch yourself thinking those thoughts. Did you really, I really didn't think about that until I read that, what I shouldn't be envious that somebody else has what I'm looking for. I should be grateful that it's coming. I would have never figured that out by myself.
Mm.
Because we think so many things, and I guess that's how we make it harder than it has to be.
Yeah, and getting your head around the fact that when you're thinking it, it needs to be as if it's already done, so you're vibrating at the rate of it actually has already occurred.
Yeah. Not thinking, oh, gee, I still wish I had that. You got to stop doing that.
Yeah. Because if you didn't know this, you would be thinking to yourself, I would really love that house in the country. It'd be so nice. One day I'd really love to have that house in the country. And you could think about it your whole life through, but it'll never happen because you're not doing it in a certain way of being in the house in the country now.
Exactly. Of getting yourself on the same vibration.
Yeah.
Yep, having that emotion. It's just a wish.
Yeah.
A dream. So the visualizing, the imagination impresses it on your subconscious. And so you've planted the seed in universe. And so now, when use the example, there's an example here about the house building.
Yeah.
On line 31, if the thought of a house of a certain construction were impressed upon the formless substance, it might not cause the instant formation of that house. It'd be nice. But it would cause a turning of creative energies already working in trade and commerce into such channels as to result in the speedy building of the house. So I think that's pretty cool. I go back to, to what Sandy Gallagher said about how she wanted her first house, near the water. When she got it, it was so noisy because the water kept slapping up against the house. So she had to kind of rethink her wording a bit for her next house. She didn't want it on the water.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the other thing too is when you have things happening around your environment that you don't like or that could be a little bit annoying, and so you focus on them because they're annoying you and you get more of it.
Yeah.
That's something that I've found since I've been taking notice of what's coming into my experience. I've found that, why am I getting more of that? Oh, because it's been annoying me and I've been thinking about it or focusing on it with emotion probably, that I'm getting more of it. So I'm learning to turn away from things, just not even think about them. Just if it comes in front of me, something that's annoying, I don't know what in particular.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And yeah. So that's where I think, spending time throughout the day. I know Bob, often says, start with your 10 gratitudes. And it's like if you focus on being grateful all day, you're putting your mind in a positive vibration. And then when a negative thought comes in, I just listened to The Strangest Secret, and, he says, when a negative thought comes in, replace it with a positive one of your goal or something to get back to that positive vibration and keep attracting that.
Yeah. And so you have to be on the ball every minute of the day, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah. And he even says here how it, it takes work. And, to think what you want to think is to think truth regardless of appearances. And, it requires far more effort to do so than it does to think the thoughts which are suggested by appearances.
Yeah, because you don't really have to think then. You just accept, right?
Right. Well, it's just like she had a negative thought, and then, that's what was coming into her world. But if she, thought truth, abundancy, whatever, that's what truth is. Not focus on the appearances.
Yeah, because that could be a result of a thought that you had 6 months ago, but not exactly the way you think anymore. So, but if you keep focusing on it, you will keep getting it. But if you can think the way you want things to be and ignore that, then it'll start to change.
Yeah, because when in that Earl Nightingale, A Stranger's Secret, who's he talking to? I can't remember. He says he interviewed somebody, and he said, "What's wrong with man today?" And the fellow says, "It's simple. Man doesn't think."
Yep. Well, he said like out of 100 people by the age of 65, one will be like wealthy, 4 will be independently, financially independent. And I thought, well, that's interesting because I often use I want to be financially independent, but that doesn't necessarily mean wealthy. I thought, well, that's interesting. But something like 65 will be broke.
Yeah.
But at the age of 25, they all have dreams of success, but then a lot of them, they let the world do their thinking for them.
Yeah,
Sandy Gallagher let her family do her thinking for her that she was going to be a lawyer like everyone else in her family, and that was, printed upon her, and then she finally, did her own thinking and realized it's not what she wanted. So a lot of us do that.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just looking at my notes here and remembered that when we were talking about this last time, we talked about doing the experiment, and this is when we did the milking cow experiment. And all of us did a visualization and thought about a milking cow, and most of us from the group had at least one milking cow come into our experience over the course of the week.
Yeah, I didn't share it, but I also saw a cow.
Really? Awesome.
Yeah, it's at an ice cream shop.
Nice.
Okay, so we were just talking about the truth, right? And the next question was repeating the summary. Do you understand it? Do you believe it? How can it be proved? I think we kind of went through that, but what's the basic fact behind all appearances? And I think that's what we were just talking about, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That they aren't necessarily the truth. Appearances.
Yeah. Mind 104, to do things in a way you want to do them, you will have to acquire the ability to think the way you want to think. Basically, think and, plant the seeds in the universe. This is the first step towards getting rich. To think what you want to think is to think truth regardless of appearances. I'm not kidding you, this whole section was a real tongue twister.
Yeah.
So like someone said, you think abundance even though you have bills that are due, that you can't pay.
It takes more effort to think than it does to, okay, what does it say? You have the natural and inherent power to think what you want to think, but it requires far more effort to do so than it does to think the thoughts which are suggested by appearances.
Yep.
It's easy to just accept appearances.
Yeah.
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 Or to think that, I'm broke, I can't pay my bills, I'll never get out of this, instead of I'm an abundant human being.
I really like the way that Abraham puts it when Esther says that as soon as you think of something that you want, the vibrational equivalent actually exists. And if we can stay in that vibration, then it will happen. So I now think to myself, okay, well, I've asked for that, so it does actually exist in its vibrational form. So I find it easier to be in the mode of it now actually exists. actually physically exists in a vibrational wave or in substance vibrationally somehow, to tell myself, no, it does actually exist now. What I'm looking at is from old thoughts. It doesn't count anymore. This actually does exist vibrationally. So I really like the way she puts it like that, to say it exists now. We're already reveling in it. You know, us people, us who are still non-physical, we're already reveling in your new thoughts that you've produced for us. You just need to come up to speed with it and enjoy it with us.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I've heard of other people talk about it that way, that it's, you just have to bring it into everybody else's reality now. We also talked about in one of the recordings that was on the Hay House Summit, that everything that we could possibly want is in a vortex. It's in our vortex. It's already there. We just have to get on the right vibration to get it from the vortex. It's already there for us.
I was just
And who was speaking? Who said that? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was, what's her name again?
That's Abraham as well, who talks about the
Yeah,
vortex.
yeah.
Yeah, and another way they put it too is an escrow, and I didn't know what it was. I had to Google it, but it's a trust account.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Exactly. So it's already there for us. We just have to learn how to pull it into our reality and accept it. Get on the right vibration.
And don't let fear get in the way.
Exactly.
Mm.
Don't let who get in the way?
Fear.
Fear, yes. I thought she said spirit, and I'm like, that can't be right.
Fear is so dangerous. It's
Oh,
just,
that's I was thinking.
Something else he points out in this, where is it? Line 116. He says sustained and consecutive thought. And in Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill says about holding the thought as well. And I think he uses the word holding in here quite a bit as well. So it's not just thinking of something and it's ready to go as soon as we line up with it. You've got to focus on it for a period of time with intent until it is kind of tangible, I guess.
Nicole, didn't we hear Abraham Hicks again talking about that, holding that thought for 17 seconds?
Yeah.
I thought it wasn't it 68 seconds? I just remember from one of her books something like 68 seconds.
I think it's groups of 7 seconds or somewhere around there, and then that starts to attract similar thoughts. And then if you can do it for 17 seconds, that attracts enough thoughts for it to be tangible. And then if you can continue to hold it for the minute, and I think they just reduced it in the last few months.
You know what, Nicole?
Well.
You know what the 68 is? It's 17 plus 17, and then you attract another 17 and another 17, and that makes 64.
Yeah, so it's groups of 17. So when you get to the 17-second mark, you're starting to attract similar thoughts, and then another 17 seconds. It's like a cumulative, but it's
yeah, it's like a square root kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's exponential.
That's the word, Kathy. Of course, you would know.
What was it?
Exponential.
Exponential, right? That's what it was.
It's not linear. It's exponential.
Right.
It's like 1 plus 1 is 3, instead of 2.
Yes.
Yeah. So you start with, say, you have one thought in the first 17 seconds, and then you have another one. So for the following 17 seconds, you've got 2 thoughts attracting more thoughts. So you're doubling both of those. So yeah, it's like it's
like masterminding.
Yeah, the sum of each is more. It's worth more than the sum of each of its parts.
Yeah.
Boy, I haven't listened to Abraham in years. Now I'm gonna start listening from a whole different perspective.
Oh,
Like,
you're gonna love it now with your new
yep,
understanding.
yeah,
Love it. You know what I do when I have a question, because they have so much. I've been doing it for so long, and they have everything filed in kind of topics when someone asks a question on a certain topic. So if I've got something that I'm thinking, I'm not too sure about this, I'll go and Google, I'll go onto YouTube and Google Abraham and write the thing that I'm thinking about, like manifestation or money or relationships or, you know, whatever it is. I'll Google the topic there, my go-to person when I've got a specific thing that I want an answer to. What about this? Okay, Abraham, such and such, and it'll come up. Someone will have asked the question because they have a no limits policy where you can ask a question on anything that you want. And there's usually something there on any given topic, an answer that they've given. And they're so consistent. Like I've been listening to them for a long time, and I listen to the old stuff, the new stuff, all of it. And I have not come across one single
discrepancy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look him up. Abraham.
That humor too, that it really drives it home too, because you get on a higher frequency just listening to her, because her message is so great, but not only that, she makes it so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got a little sarcastic wit about her. I love it.
Yeah, she really does.
Yeah. When I first listened to her, someone recommended me to listen, and I started listening. I thought, she's saying her name. I didn't realize she was channeling. She's saying her name. What's wrong with this woman? She's saying Esther. She's talking about herself using her name. I thought that was very strange, but now I realize what's going on.
Sorry, it's Abraham. Who you were referring to, Nicole? Sorry.
They call themselves Esther Hicks. So, Abraham Hicks, it's Esther Hicks, and she's channeling Force energy, who she has personally named Abraham.
And Jerry. Jerry, isn't it?
Yeah, Jerry's her husband. He's passed on. She's still doing the work.
Oh, has he?
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh.
So now sometimes when Abraham's talking, she'll say that was Jerry's energy.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Abraham was teasing Esther while Esther was speaking their words, and they said, Esther thinks that Jerry's attention's on her. He does have other things he's interested in,
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's pretty cute. I really enjoy listening to her.
Yeah, it's quite soothing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you. I found her on YouTube now.
Yeah, you'll be addicted before long.
Among all the other things I'm addicted to.
She did talk about letting go, that you need to have your sustained or your thought, but you don't need to dwell on it all day long. You have to let go and trust that it's coming to you now, because part of the law of attraction is having fun. You should be feeling like you're just going downstream instead of paddling upstream all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And, when people are channeling, they're channeling according to their own personality. And even Esther says this, well, Abraham says it through her. Check your own sources. And we all have the ability, and we all are doing this all the time, getting ideas and thoughts from universal intelligence. She said that this is her interpretation of the vibrations of thoughts that she's getting, and her personality is one of, I'm just here to enjoy the planet and to do the expansion work, in a happy and joyful way. Whereas with Napoleon Hill, when he was getting thoughts from universal intelligence, his focus was on business success. And so that's the message that he was getting. So everyone gets a message in relation to what they're focusing on and what their desired outcomes are. And Abraham talks about the 3-step process, which is true. She says, first you ask. The second step, universal intelligence does that step, which is lining the things up for it to come to you. And then the third step is to be in a happy, high vibrational receiving mode. So once it's asked, it's asked. She says, you don't have to keep on asking for it. Once you've asked it, it's there. It's a vibrational reality. All you need to do is get up to speed with it, and you'll see it coming towards you.
Like they say, seek and you will find.
Yeah, or ask and it is given. That's actually one of their books. They've got a few books as well.
Oh, wow.
So do you guys have this page after the questions? There's the 7 levels of awareness, and then it talks about the aware person and the ignorant person.
What page is that?
On mine, it's page 65 in the manual.
Yeah.
I printed it out. Because it talks about, we talked about emotions, and it shows like an aware person thinks what they want to think, regardless of appearances. And shows starting point, thoughts, ideas, that goes to which cause feelings, which causes actions, which produce results. And then it says, a self-fulfilling cycle of doom. The average individual's mind is busily engaged in a hodgepodge of totally unrelated ideas, the likes of which you would have difficulty finding outside of the common encyclopedia. Their mind is being dazzled through their senses by moving objects, flashy colors, wild and weird sounds. Order, vision, and focus are near impossible because of the mental state they permit themselves to be in during their waking hours. They believe themselves to be a physical thing in the world of things. They are clutched by an unseen enemy. The lack and limitation being expressed in their present results have captured their conscious control. They concentrate all their mental energy on their limited supply, thereby creating more of the same. And then it says, calmness of mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. It is the result of long and patient effort and self-control. Its presence is an indication of ripened experience and of a more than ordinary knowledge of the laws and the operations of thought. You become calm in the measure that you understand yourself as a thought-evolved being. For such knowledge necessitates the understanding of others as a result of thought. And as you develop a right understanding and see more and more clearly the internal relations of things by the action of cause and effect, you cease to fuss and fume and worry and grieve and remain poised, steadfast, serene. Oh, that's by James Allen. And then it says starting point, present results, which cause thoughts, which cause feelings, which cause actions. An ignorant person permits the appearance of things to control his or her thoughts. Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. Pretty well sums up what we've said.
Yeah. I really like the way how he talks about, where was it? Understanding of others as a result of thought. And I like to, when I look at other people, see them as Source would see them. And that helps me not to get caught up in my own opinions or perspective of how I think other people should be acting. If I see them how Source would see them, I see Source through them and only see their good points. And that, I find that really helpful to stop myself from having bad thoughts about other people.
I've lately been just reminding myself that they're doing the best that they know how at the present time, and that I must have been brought into their life for a reason. And maybe it's just to be a good listener for them or whatever it is. So, if somebody is getting on my nerves or whatever, that's what I focus on, is just you know, they're doing the best they can. I'm here to help them for some reason.
Yeah, that's a good way to think.
Or I tell my son sometimes be the observer and learn from every situation. So, like, for example, when it comes to parenting, you can see, he doesn't have kids, but it's like you can see people and the way they parent and how their kids worked out, and you can choose, like, that is something I want in my parenting skills. And you can see other people and going, you know, that is not what I want in my parenting skills. So be an observer when you see some negative things of, it's a lesson to show you what you do want.
Right. And that's one of the things that we're going to read in the power when we start that, is that Rhonda Byrne says, the universe is always showing you a whole catalog for you to pick.
I love that.
So you can see what it is you want and what it is that you don't want, but you're always going to be seeing everything. You're not going to see all the great stuff. You're going to see the awful stuff too, so that you can say, no, that's not what I want.
And that's so true. I mean, I'm a trader. I'm a day trader. And it wasn't until I joined this one group that I realized this is not what I want. And it just gave me such clarity on what, after all these years of trying different methods or whatever, what I do want. So sometimes, you know, it's going, like, being in a negative situation to help you realize now I do know what I want, and I've been focused since.
Yeah.
Thanks to that negative experience. It took me like almost a year to get it out of my mind to some degree. It affected me emotionally that bad that I did, and it gave me clarity. So I was grateful for the experience.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like exactly what was supposed to happen.
Yep.
You know what they say, right? You either learn through experience or you learn through. Let's say for coaching, like you pay in the coaching, you learn from someone else, or you pay from your own experience. And learning from your own experience is the best teacher, I think. But in this case.
Yeah. It's like that Helen Reddy song, "Oh yes, I am wise, but it's wisdom born of pain. Yes, I've paid the price, but look how much I've gained." I always remember that. It's like, you know, even my kids, when they've had something happen, I go, well, what did you learn? And, you know, they're wiser because of it.
Yeah, for sure.
And don't you appreciate the good times when you've had a period of, you know, bad luck or,
Yep.
you know, and even hard work, you know, don't you appreciate having a rest or laying down in your hammock or on the couch or whatever after a really hard day at work or a long day at work, rather than someone who might not work much and spend a lot of time on the couch? I think that you get more appreciation and more joy from it than, you know, with the contrast.
So true. So true.
Wow.
Yeah, good talk.
Yeah. Did you finish all the questions?
Question 5. What must you do and what must you believe if you are to practice the science of getting rich? What must you do and what? Well, I'd say focus your.
Sorry.
You must lay aside all other concepts of the universe other than this monistic one. So you have to believe.
That's what I think, yeah.
Yeah. Think truth.
Yeah.
Steadfastly. Have faith in it.
Exactly. Grasp the truth that every thought held in the thinking substance becomes a form. And the person can impress thoughts upon it to cause it to take form.
What line is that?
That is 140.
I've written with emotion there, held with emotion, and I've underlined held as well, because I think that's a point he makes a lot.
Yeah. And when we realize this, we lose all doubt and fear.
Yep.
So yeah, you have to get rid of doubt and fear for sure. And I guess that's a product of having faith. Then you can't have doubt and fear if you have faith. Absolute acceptance of this faith at the end.
Yep. Question 6. What requires the expenditure of more power than any other work a person has to perform?
Well, that's to think truth, right?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yep. Where was that line we were talking about earlier?
Yeah, we just had that line.
It's like in 104 to 114 in there.
And why?
Oh, yeah, 109. It requires far more effort to do so. Oh, sorry, I'll start at 108. You have the natural and inherent power to think what you want to think, but it requires far more effort to do so than it does to think the thoughts which are suggested by appearances.
And why? Okay, so there's the why. Because to think according to appearances is easy. To think truth regardless of appearances is laborious and requires the expenditure of more power. There's an interesting thought. I never thought about that word before, that it requires the expenditure of more power than any other work you have to perform.
Mm.
It's the hardest work in the world, is what he says a little further on.
And it gets
But
easier.
the most
I think
beneficial.
as we practice, it gets easier.
Yep. Like now I find when I start, when something negative comes in my mind, instead of dwelling on it and then rehashing or whatever, it's like, being aware, quickly becoming aware that, oh, there's a negative thought. And even if I just repeat my goals or, Bob Proctor's, I'm so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. Just any affirmation and I'll just keep repeating it over and over till I feel like I've broken that negative pull and now, try to get back to positive. So I don't dwell on them as much. So I think that's growth.
Definitely. And it's good to have a few of those up your sleeve to quickly switch over to.
Yep.
Mm.
I mean, I have my goal card and there's those and then just, even the, what was his name? Emile Coué. Day by day in every way, I'm getting better and better, or I'm better and better. That's what he told, like he was a French psychologist in the early 1900s, and that's what he told his patients that were sick, and it really helped, just that one line. So sometimes if I'm not feeling good, I'll just repeat that line over and over. I'm better and better, I'm better and better. Every day in every way, I'm better and better. I'm healthier and healthier, or something.
Yeah.
So,
Talking about emotion, Napoleon Hill mentions that quote, and he says that, it helps millions of people, but he said it also, on the other side of things, another lot of millions of people, it didn't help because they didn't put any emotion into it. He said they just said it over and over by route. It didn't mean anything. So there's a good example of how when using emotion and really believing what you're saying to yourself works. Whereas
and using the imagination to visualize that perfect health.
Yeah, I caught myself looking in the mirror today and saying, "Oh, that's gross," and I went, "No, don't say that. You're not gross. You're beautiful."
I love you.
Yeah, well, have you guys listened to Peggy McCall's video?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, I thought that, the mirror work and looking in each eye And, you know, so I do my affirmation, and then just even I love you at the end of each one, you know, and just put a smile on my face. And I find she says do it 7 times, but you know, I've done it a little bit more, and it's like I always end up like with a big smile on my face.
I still feel dumb. But it's going to take a while, I guess. And you know what? Because Napoleon Hill did that when he first started that affirmation that he told Carnegie he would do for was it 21 days? He looked at
Andrew Carnegie, I'm not only going to meet you at the grandstand, I'm going to
pass you
or pass you at the grand. I know I've got it written down too.
Yeah, I do too. But he says it in the mirror.
Yes.
Yeah. And he says, go into your bathroom. He says, make sure you close the door because relatives probably ring up the psychiatric ward and tell them to come down here. Someone's gone berserk.
And he said he just whispered it the first few times because he felt so silly.
Yeah.
Well, I have what I did is there's 2 people that I admire in my trading, and I have a picture of each of them. So I don't have because I'm in my office, and it's like, you know, like what he says, Andrew Carnegie, I'm not only going to equal your achievements in life, I'm going to challenge you at the post, and I'm going to pass you at the grandstand. So my husband sits in the family room, and he hears me saying it to both of them, you know, throughout the morning. So I don't do it in front of the mirror, but I do it with a big smile on my face, and yeah, I just leave it up there so I see it all the time to remind myself to do that.
Cool. That's a great idea.
Yeah, because otherwise, you know, I forget.
You know, evening, guys. Sorry for getting on late.
Yes.
And it reminds me of I can't remember where I read it, but it was to do with a guy who had gone out and he'd had a few drinks and he'd been helped back to his room. And he says to the guy that was in the room, just wait for a couple of minutes and we'll go back down because we need to go back to for the meeting, for the conference. And the guy's looking at him, he's thinking, this guy's nuts because he's gone. He's had so many drinks, he's gone. And he started looking into the mirror and he just looked at himself straight in the mirror, staring. And he says he did that for about 5 minutes and all he said was, I am sober, I am sober. After 5 minutes, he stood up, went into the bathroom, washed his face, came back out, and he says he was a completely different man. He was sober. He was sober as a judge, if judges can be sober. But the thing is and the thing with the mirror work is it's very, very powerful because what you're doing is that you're looking at yourself and you're telling yourself. And it's one of those things where it's like looking at your own subconscious in front of you in the mirror and you're telling your subconscious exactly that, all right? The thing with this, another way of the mirror work where you look at yourself in each eye, that's the theory behind that is that it goes into one side and then the other side of the mind. But to be honest with you, I tried it and it didn't work. What worked for me, and this is different for every person, and you've got to find what works for you. It's like you said that Peggy and Cole says, you know, do it 7 times. You might need to do it twice, and it's enough. Another person might need to do 100 times, and it'll work. But when you're doing it, you've got to have the belief that it's going to work. You know, it's like Emil Quest formula, every day in every way. I'm feeling better and better. And like Nicole said quite rightly, because that's what he says in the Chicago lectures, is that he healed 1,000, thousands, but there was even more thousands that weren't healed. And he asked the audience why, and the people were coming back with various things. But it is that emotional content, is having emotion behind it, believing that it's going to work, putting the emotion into it that it's going to work, actually seeing yourself physically healthy. So even in your mirror work, when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, even if you're doing one eye and the other, you've got to actually visualize yourself at the point where you want to be. You've got to feel it. You know, all of these things are appearing in so many books, and it doesn't matter which book you read, they're always bringing you back to the same thing, which is when you've got to see it, you have to, acting in a certain way is you seeing it, you're feeling it, and you're believing it. You're already acting as if. In other words, you're already there. And once you start putting yourself on the other side, and this is how to overcome fear as well, you put yourself in a position where you want to be. Once you've overcome that fear, and all of a sudden you find yourself, you've overcome it. So when you put yourself there, you're already feeling how you should feel. You're the person that you're supposed to feel. And you are the person that you want to be. And when you start doing that, you suddenly become that. And one day you look at yourself and you say, you know, I look at myself in the mirror, I'm Cheryl, and I'm saying, God, I love you. You're gorgeous. You know? No, come on, you got to do it. You've got to have a little bit of childishness about you. But it is true. You've got to shut that door, because when you start doing it and your partner walks past the doorway, and she looks at you and she thinks that, she looks at you and you think, no, I really don't need you to call a psychiatrist. I'm okay. It's just part of the process. It's all good. It's all good. And you close the door slowly and you think to yourself, that was a little bit embarrassing, but now we'll carry on. So, you know, if people around you don't know what you're doing and why you're doing it, shut the door. If you don't care, like I don't care anymore, you know, just leave the door open and do what you want. And if anybody looks at you a bit funny, you say to them, come over here and try it. You come and try it. Tell me how you feel after you said it 3 times. And you'll find a lot of people either look at you as if you just gone nuts, or they'll say, I'll have a go. Well, you know, it's got no harm. And they change as well. They begin to realize the power of mirror work. When you look at yourself in the mirror, you're reaffirming this is you. You know, you're no longer looking at the physical, because you're looking at yourself in the eye. And it's like that's sending that message deep into your soul, deep into your subconscious. This is what I want. And not only do I want it, I know I can have it. I believe I can have it. I'm already there. And the minute you start doing that more, and the more often you do it, eventually you're going to find you move away from the thought. You'll be walking down the street. You'll look at, you know, you'll be looking at a nice little, please understand, I don't look at dresses. If I looked at dresses, I don't know. Anyway, but you're looking at a window shop and you're looking at that nice dress, or in my case, a suit, of course. And you think to yourself, that's quite nice, but you know something, I look good. I look good. And you just keep on walking and you forget about it. But it's when you start, no, it's not bad, and when you start thinking about it, that's when it's actually hit home, and you won't even realize it. And that's the best part about it. That's the journey. You're reaching, you're going along such a journey, and the manifestations from the ether begin to happen as well. And you don't even realize it. You don't even realize it. So Cheryl, keep doing that mirror work. You look gorgeous, hon. You got a good man. Don't worry about it. It's all good. It's all good.
That's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think Hay House has a course on mirror work. They had a free 4-video series to promote the course, I'm sure, but
Yeah, they did. I kind of started it and I felt silly doing it and I didn't keep it up. But I'm going to try again.
yeah.
Maybe we should make a pact.
Okay.
Well, I'm doing it every morning, just like what she says. I'm doing my goal every morning. You know, I get up, I bought a little journal, I leave it in the bathroom so I can write my gratitude, and then I do my mirror work, and you know, did it, and keep my gratitude journal with me so I can write other things throughout the day.
Well, that's a great idea because she was saying to do your gratitude before you even get out of bed. And I think
Right.
sometimes it's pretty hard to stay there.
Well,
Right when you get up.
Sometimes I get up before my husband, so I that's why I put my journal in the bathroom.
Okay.
So if I'm up before him, I can do it. If I'm up after him, I can go to the bathroom and then come back to bed if I wanted to and do it. And I start each one with I'm so happy and grateful, but I kind of cheated and just kind of write the acronym for I'm so happy and grateful now that. But I say it in my mind, or out loud. I'm so happy and grateful now that. But just writing it's like I want to get the process going.
You know, the thing with the gratitude side of things, listen, I tried doing it in the mornings, right? Like we're supposed to do, in inverted commas. But you got to remember that all of this stuff is just a guidance. We're all different. I started doing it in the morning, and I wasn't feeling anything. I was just writing words because that's what we're supposed to do. And then I sort of asked a question. I said, look, do we really have to do it in the morning? Because when I get up first thing in the morning, I feel like a swinging brick. And my body hasn't switched on yet, right? It's true. My body hasn't switched on yet. So how am I supposed to do this when I can't even feel it? And the tenor said, well, you have to do it in the morning. You feel it when you want. Well, why don't you tell me that?
Exactly.
So what I've realized, all of this is a guidance. Yeah, take it as a guidance. So say to yourself, right, when is it that I'm truly emotionally awake? Not awake, emotionally awake. And for some people, it's actually, as soon as you wake up, you're emotionally awake. Others, you're not. It takes a little bit of time for your body to sort of wake up, and then your emotions and everything else. So you've got to find the best time for you. And it could be that you need to look at something, you need to see something. So for example, for me, I'll get up, I'm not always fully awake, and then I'll see my cats. And, it's a little ginger one that's just decided to join the pack a couple of days ago. And he's slowly getting accepted. And when I see my cats in the morning, tails high, that's when my emotions kick in. And I say to myself, brilliant. But personally, I don't write gratitude lists anymore because I've realized how grateful I am for everything that's happening on a constant basis. And when personally, I think that's the idea of a gratitude list. It's just to awake you to gratitude so you can continue. And Nicole's idea with a gratitude band is one of the most brilliant things we could do, because it gives you that constant reminder to be grateful for every little thing that comes across your life on a daily basis. I went to Kenya, and we used to have to carry the water up and down the stairs and then boil it, put it in the pan so you can actually have a shower in inverted commas again, because you're actually chucking over yourself. But I went back to the UK, and having a shower for me now is something I'm so grateful about, because I turn the tap on, I get hot water, the water is flowing freely. I don't have to think about carrying it or anything else. Heat is another thing, drinking water, because over there is no drinking water. You've got to boil it, you've got to do different things to it so you can actually drink it or go and buy it. So there's so many things that, unless you've experienced it, you won't say it. But even if you haven't, it's a matter of looking at what you have and think to yourself, consider what everybody else doesn't have and how lucky am I? And, that is just simple sense of gratitude. So when you're writing your gratitude lists, look at yourself and say, look at yourself inside and say, am I actually feeling this, or am I just writing it? Because if you're just writing it, it's pointless. Sorry, it's pointless. It's not getting you anywhere. You feel it when you're feeling. And if you can feel it first thing in the morning, you write it first thing in the morning. If your list is one of those things where it becomes a chore, then you're not being grateful, because it becomes a chore. You've got to think about things. But if you can write a list and you can use the same list every day. This is something I found out later. They said to me, oh, you don't have to write the same thing every day. You can have one list. It's like, why didn't you tell me this at the beginning? It's like, oh, it's a bit of a self-discovery. Right, okay. But you got to find what works for you. That's what it basically boils down to. Writing it just solidifies it. That's the purpose behind it. It's a visual help to say, this is what I'm grateful for. But if they're just words, it's not doing anything for you.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. I read something that someone wrote last week that she learned a lesson, and she said, the best way to, in order to receive abundance, we must release worry, anxiety, and panic. And often when we do, it comes out and gives it another go before it leaves. And that's the moment to acknowledge, name what it is, and turn your thoughts towards your right now abundance. That moment allows the release. And in order to be fully prepared to receive abundance, we have to first always look at what we have right now as part of that abundance and go there first before asking to have more.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those.
Gratitude. It means you're learning to manage your abundance, so your desires are not about things you think you want but already have.
Well, one of the things that I was told, Cheryl, is when I was writing my gratitude list, was you start off writing all the stuff that actually physically exists, and then you mix it up with things that you want to manifest.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the idea behind that was that you carry through the feeling of gratitude for what you don't physically have at that moment in time, but the things that you want. Now, I found that I couldn't carry my feelings across with that. And that again, that's a personal thing. Now, if you can, again, this stuff is so personal. And this is why it's all such a massive journey. It's about feeling the different parts which, work for you or work for somebody. They've got to work for you. And the biggest key is how you feel. Is if you're not feeling it, or if you feel like, if you find yourself doing that, you got to stop. Because you're not helping it. I'll tell you what, the best thing that I heard was actually from the teachings of Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks. And the example, I don't know if you guys have listened to him, but what I found was when they start explaining the river analogy, the one where you put the boat in the river, and when they explain that, if you feel like you're paddling against the river. So if you imagine a river with a strong stream, and you get in a boat and you put the paddles in the river, and you start paddling upstream. All right. So you're fighting against the river and you're trying to get upstream. And what they say is when you put the paddles in the boat and you just go with the river, it's a lot easier and you're flowing a lot better. Now, it took me a little bit of time to try and figure out that analogy. So I had to listen to different YouTube videos from them just to understand it. And what they mean is that when you feel like there's a resistance to what you're doing. So going back to the gratitude list, if you're writing your gratitude list and you feel like, right, what am I grateful for? If you start thinking that, stop. You're paddling upriver. You put in, there's resistance there. If there's resistance, stop, let it go. Come back to it another time.
Agree.
Yeah, so it's when you've got it flowing and it's all nice and you're feeling good and you're saying, it's like me, I can turn around and say, I'll tell you what, I'll describe the room. I won't describe the room, but I'll tell you what I'm grateful for right now. I'm grateful for the laptop because I'm able to connect with you guys and we can talk and we can sort our own minds out. I'm grateful for the fact that, you guys have got all these different ideas, and I'm grateful that I've been given a sense of humility to be able to listen to all these ideas and take them on so I can improve as well. I'm grateful for the fact that I've got a black cat who's not black, he's got a little bit of brown, and he's really nice, and he always comes and lies down and sleeps on the chair next to me. And he does that every day without fail. I don't even need to expect it, but he's always there. I'm grateful for the fact that, I've got this house in Cyprus, and even though it's not my house, it's my mom's house, but it's all paid for. I don't pay rent here. So I'm grateful for that. And I can go on and on and on. And there's no resistance there. Now,
Yep.
yeah, exactly. So when you find that, and all of a sudden you're thinking, you know, what am I? Well, I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful, and I'm not even thinking about the things I have not manifested yet. That's notwithstanding. I don't need to put them in there. I don't need to. I don't have to. You know,
you raise vibration just by everything that you've said.
Exactly. And that's the whole point. You know, when Wattles wrote this, I was talking to my partner about this. I was talking to her about this. And I said to her, you know, when Wattles wrote this book, what he did was he took a lot of ideas and he put them into one general description, and he called it a certain way. Whereas if you look at Think and Grow Rich, what Napoleon Hill did was he split everything up into its constituent parts and told us exactly what to do. So Wallace gave us an idea that we've got to work with, and we've got to figure a few things out. Whereas Napoleon just said, look, just do this. You don't need to understand it. You'll get through. And it's true. There's two different books, but each one of them has its own concept. And the thing with Wattles is he gave us the opportunity to develop that concept within our own selves. He made us think. With Napoleon, he's telling you to think because it's part of the process. Wattles, he says to you, look at it. You've got to work on this. You know, they're both telling us the same thing in two different ways. And acting in a certain way and living the truth, which the truth, when he talks about the truth, he's talking about the real you. You know, is when you see what you really want, who you really are. When you're acting a certain way, you're acting in a truthful way, which is to get from where you are to what you actually want. And when you're doing that, you begin to realize what gratitude is, because you stop trying to force the idea. You let the idea be. You just let it exist. Bob Proctor describes this in the book You Were Born Rich. For those of you that have read it, he describes that letting go and letting God. In other words, you know, you let go and you just let it be. You let God, you let infinite intelligence, universal intelligence, spirit energy do it for you. And that's the idea. You just you relax into it. When you're forcing it, your vibration is that of force. It's like saying, I want this, but I need to make it happen, and I'm trying to force it to happen. And it's never going to happen because you've got resistance against it. So even though you're thinking of your want and you're putting out those goals, and we're putting all those goals out and we're trying to make them happen, we are trying to make them happen. We don't make things happen. What we do is that we say, right, we relax into it, we visualize it, we're relaxing into it. So you don't feel stressed, you know, am I going to get them? Forget all of that. Relax into it, say, right, this is what I want, this is how I'm going to feel, this is how it's going to be on the other side. And this is where you go into that childish bit and you enjoy it. You've got to enjoy it. If you're not enjoying it, it doesn't really do anything for you.
Love it.
I'll be honest, it took me a while to figure it out, but I had to listen to a lot of Abraham Hicks to try and figure that one out. I'll tell you what, that wasn't easy.
Yeah, I mean, I look at a lot of this as their guidelines, and like what Peggy suggested, they're her guidelines. That's what works for her. I tend to wake up and I'm emotionally awake. My husband usually takes about an hour or so, and that's fine. It's like, you know, just, and years ago someone said, before you go to bed, write down 21 things you're grateful for, and that's when we decided, let's just do it throughout the day. And even driving and seeing the beautiful, you know, the clouds, and oh, look at, you see Mickey Mouse in the clouds, you know, and giving thanks for that. And then you start, you know, you start going through your whole day looking for things. When one of my, I have two cats, Sadie and Sam, And Sadie lays with her belly up sometimes, and I just think, see, that's just her way of showing me her love and wanting me to kiss her little belly. So, you know, that just puts me in such a good mood.
Yeah.
You know, they're so different. Sassy Sadie and Simple Sam.
And you know, like, sorry, it's Natalie. You know what they say? It's a journey as well.
Yeah.
The journey on what you become after, because many people think the mistake that they do is about what the goal they want to reach. Yes, it starts with the goal, but the true wisdom I found is who you become during the goal and during the journey. Because during the journey, like, we discover so many things. We grow, like you grow, I grow, everyone grows. And then as you grow, that goal actually might change. But the journey that you are on is your journey, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's very true, Natalie.
Yeah.
You start off with a goal, and the best description I've been given, and it's something that changed me, is from a girl called Kali Rodriguez. She's a thinking to results consultant based in the US. And Kali once said to me, you know, one of the things that helps you along is, rather than looking at your goal, it's a matter of realizing that your goal is being given to you, not to actually reach that goal, but like you said, Natalie, it's the journey and the person you become along the way. Now, that's the difference, I would say. It's not the person you become at the end of it. It's the person you become along the way, because as we go along, we change on a daily basis, because we'll see something on one day, and then something will click in our minds, and on the following day, and we'll read it again. And all of a sudden, something else has popped up. And there's going to come a time, or some of you will have experienced this already, which is you start reading something, and you all of a sudden you're on a roller coaster of awareness, and you constantly become more and more aware. It's like from one day to the next, and this could happen for a month, and then nothing, absolutely nothing for a while. And it happened to me. I went on a roller coaster for about 2 months, and then all of a sudden for about 3 months there was nothing, absolutely nothing, except along the way every now and then something changed. And then you pick a book up and you read something, and for me it was Wishes Fulfilled by Dr. Dyer. I picked that book up and I read something, and that just took me on a massive quantum leap. I was going nicely up, then went on a plateau, and then I just went exponentially up. And I thought, okay. I had to put the book down. I really had to put the book down for a day, because it just put me into such a shock, spiritually, mentally, physically, that I just thought, whoa. I just closed the book and I put it down. And my partner was sitting behind me, and she was looking at me, and she says, "You're right." I said to her, "Let me think about it, and I'll ask you a question." And it happens. And this journey is, a lot of people say, "Oh, it's ups and downs," and so there isn't really when you start off, and you get a bit of a peak and you get a bit of a down. Okay, the next time you get a peak, it's going to take you higher up. So the next time you get a bit of a down, that down is not going to go as far down as it did before. And it's just, you're constantly going up and up and up. So even your dips are not the dips that we had before, because we're more aware. And as you become more aware and you're doing what feels right, rather than doing what, everybody, different people tell us, "Oh, you got to do this and you got to do this and you'll feel great." So, how can I put it? It's like I started doing not circuit training, cross training, because I thought, "Oh, that looks nice." So I went and did some cross training, and they said, "Oh, how do you feel?" I said to them, "I feel knackered." They said, "Oh, well, you shouldn't feel knackered. You should feel, energetic." I said, "I don't feel energetic." I said to them, "When I do my own stuff at home, I feel energetic. But, I've come here, and even though I wanted to try it, I don't feel energetic, but I tried it. And I now know that doesn't work for me. Now I want to try." And I thought to myself, I'll go for some strength yoga. And then recently, I'm just getting this message that's just constantly telling me, do relaxation yoga. You need it. I'm thinking, right, that'll be universal intelligence telling me to get a hold of myself and relax a bit more. And it happens because initially the message I was getting was strength yoga, and now it's changed. It's saying relaxation yoga. So you've got to be able to listen, to the messages we're getting sent. And guys, and this is the thing. I know Nicole talks about universal intelligence, and to be honest, between us, we've sort of come down to one decision, which is we know that we're always being sent messages. The issue that we have as human beings is that we're not allowing ourselves to receive because we think we've got to do something. We don't. We just need to relax. So everything we do, everything you do, any direction you're given, even if I say to you, it'd be an idea if you read this book and you start opening the book and you feel to yourself, I really don't want to read this book at the moment. I don't like it. Don't read the book. It doesn't really matter what anybody tells you. Go with your feelings. Because when you go with your feelings, you're always right. You're never ever wrong. You got to go with yourself. And what you'll find is, one of the biggest worries that I had was, but if I don't read it, then I'm going to be missing out on something. No, you're not. That's the whole point. Your feelings are telling you, but you got to be careful. You got to be aware between, something telling you, not, this ain't right for you, and, fear, and overcoming that fear barrier. It's like, is that going to be that one of those things? And it's being able to differentiate between those two feelings. So you've got to watch yourself. And the best way to actually find out is figure out something that you really fear and see how you feel. And then think about something that you want to overcome, but you don't fear it, and concentrate on that feeling as well. And it helps you to differentiate a little bit over the two. All right, that's what I did. It might work for you, it might not. You may need to find your own way of figuring that out. But if it doesn't feel right, on the majority of the time, let it go. When it's the right time for you to read that book or do that thing or not do that thing or start something else or not start something else, then you'll know it. There's going to come a time when, for example, you didn't want to read that book and then you've done this, you've done that, you've come back to the book and you think, so what was my issue with it last time? And you've picked it up this time and it's different. You feel different. It's like, I fancy reading this book now. I fancy reading this book now. You understand? It's a whole, and this, Natalie, this is a journey that you're on about. And the journey is not, it shouldn't feel like you're forcing it. You've got to feel like it's relaxed. It's like when I'm talking to you guys, I'm not trying to force the words. I'm just letting them flow. Okay?
Yeah.
I find myself, I'm trying to force it, I stop.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest secret to success. I really think so. It's not because so many people are so hung up on the goal. And then when they don't get the goal, they get depressed or they get disappointed, and then it goes downhill from there. But it's actually the journey, and that's the secret, I think, anyways.
No, you're right. It is. It is the journey. It's the thing. It's like someone saying to you, have you lived? And you say, well, I was born, I did something in the middle, and then I died. And then they said to you, right, okay. You're not supposed to be a politician. I need a straight answer. And they're looking and you say, well, what do you mean? And this is it. It's one of the things some people say, imagine what you would say to yourself if you're on a deathbed. Now I know a friend that's done that and it worked for them. Now, personally, I thought, well, what would I think? And I can't actually see it. I can't see that idea. So I'm not going to force it. Well, what makes me feel good? This makes me feel good. Talking to you guys, doing this, working with people and putting things together. That makes me feel good. Then someone says, well, what about doing this? And it's like, You know, that's like me putting my backside on a cheese grater. I'd rather not do that. You know, and no, really, there's some analogies that will come to your mind, and you'll think to yourself, seriously, you'll get an image. You will get an image, or you'll get a feeling. Mostly, we get a feeling that feels, you know, like that sinking feeling in your heart, or like at the pits of your stomach, and you think, ugh. And the minute you do that, you say to yourself, not the right direction to go. Every time you get that something, but it's you've got to differentiate between your fears and that no good feeling. It's two different things, all right? But this is a journey. I'll be honest, I think it's one of the best things I've done in my life. When I got lost, I mean, I was really, really lost. I went into the depths of darkness and I couldn't even see a light. And then all of a sudden, it's like this little pinching bit of light came on. And I thought, okay, we're on something here. And when I started that journey, the light has got bigger and bigger and bigger. And even now, I find myself forcing myself to read books because I want to read them, but I'm a little bit lazy. And that's why I know I need to force myself, because I know that when I've read that book, because I see myself on the other side, I think to myself, you know, when I read that book, I'll know a little bit more about not just me, I'll know about a little bit more about my friends and my colleagues and, you know, the people that I want to help. I'll be able to see a little bit more. And it's not a sense of a lack of humility. I don't want to read the book. It's because I think to myself, well, I got to read Think and Grow Rich. I got to read this. I got to read that. So I'm already forcing it. I'm doing it on a daily basis. Even though I know that I shouldn't be, I still do it. But that's because we're human. And it's normal. So if you find yourself doing it, don't beat yourself up over it. Just say, it's all right. It's all right. I'm human. You know, it's okay because I live in a human world. I'm not, you know, like the monks, because even the monks on Mount Athos, I'm Orthodox, and the monks on the Mount Athos actually turned around. They said, you know, we are amazed by some of the people that actually live in the outside world because it's so difficult to be good. And, you know, to hear a monk say that is something big. And it's true, because they've got an enclosed space and they can always follow their own dreams. We have to fight on a daily basis. When we come across, you know, toxic people, negative people, and they're telling us about their illnesses, they're telling us about the government, they're telling us about this, they're telling us about that. And, you know, you're just thinking to yourself, really? And I just remember what my dad told me, you know, which is, if you can't laugh at yourself, you've got no right at laughing at anything else, because life is a journey, you know. So you got to be able to laugh at things.
Yeah.
And that's what I do.
So I have a question, because that happens to me sometimes. Like, you know, on these calls, you guys have read a lot more than I have, and so these suggestions come out, oh, this book or Abraham or this and that, and then there's this feeling of being overwhelmed, because it's like, oh, I've got all this stuff. So how do you guys process it? For me, what I tend to do is I remember that, you know, okay, I've got the Think and Grow Rich group, I've got the Science of Getting Rich group, I've got my Bob Proctor coaching. Those are my priorities. And anything else, I'll put it on my list, and I'll, you know, if I get to it, great. Because otherwise, you know, I find like, okay, I'm gathering all these books, and it's like, oh, when am I going to read? And then I'm thinking it's you know, it's the reverse of what I want, because I'm feeling a lot of stress. So how do you guys deal with when you have this abundant
priorities?
Pardon me?
Priorities. Stick with your priorities.
Yeah.
Stick with your priorities, and if you get a little bit of, you know, you get the feeling like, you know, you get to in that curious state of, you know, of being curious to want to go look at something else, then allow yourself to do so, and just give yourself some flexibility. Be kind about it. So you don't have to try to meet all the expectations out there. Go with what feels right for you. What's going to help you.
Kali, is that you?
Yes.
Hi, hon.
Hi, Kali.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi. Good to see you guys.
And you're right. It's about priorities, and the thing is, you cannot do everything at once. Obviously not. However, I can tell you through my journey of personal development, it has started when I was 19, as I mentioned to you guys, when I came to Canada. And then I became a microeconomics tutor in my second year university, and I don't even know how to speak English. So doing presentation was like, holy crap, right? Anyways, along the line, you will discover certain things. Maybe you have 3 groups right now. One of these groups is giving you more than what you need. And I think, guys, that's the other thing, is you could be learning something from other people, but is that in context of your life?
True.
Right? Yep. I've been there. I have been there. I had to tell you, when I wanted to learn so much, I wanted to be so much, and I wanted to teach so much, and I wanted to share so much. Oh, I was on that journey. But you know what? I crashed because there's so much you can do. So what I would share with you is, whatever you're learning, whatever is in direct relationship has impact on your life that you resonate with, that's the one you should put most effort into, because that's the context of your life. There are so many coaching programs out there, there's so many gurus out there that teach many stuff, great, but is it good for you in the context of your life? And I have to tell you, you have to be choosy, and only you would know that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm happy you asked that, because that was me too. And I learned that too from another coach, from another coaching program I was in, because you know how to tell you, thanks for mentioning that, because you're not the only one who feels like this. I was the same one. I did not say it though. I didn't know I was feeling that way, but someone else said it. But I was like, I felt the same way, right? But then I slowly discovered that. But then when that person said this, I was like, oh, so what I was thinking about makes sense. So then listen to your inner intuition. That's how you will know the most. And then follow through with what you want to know at that particular time, because that's when you have your energy, your thoughts, and your time, especially your energy. I had to tell you, as a new mom, my energy is not the same as before, right? Time is not there either. But I had to tell you, energy goes out very fast, even though you have the time. So whatever you have the time and the energy, and that's what attracts you then, and that's what gets you out of bed, and that's what makes you go forward in life, that's what you should focus on. Everything else becomes secondary. Make sense?
It's very individual. It's, you just like, what others are sharing is that you kind of have to go with, you kind of go and do some checking in too, like I know that before I got into studying and learning, or actually studying and applying the Think and Grow Rich principles and the similar principles, I was studying another philosophy that where I was finding where there were some linear mindset, it was like, where some things that were that didn't resonate for me. And so I had to kind of come to a decision. It's like, okay, what am I going to do with this? Okay, I love this philosophy, but yet this is causing me a little bit of, some little bit of chaos, or a little bit of, it can create confusion. But the thing about the more what we learn, we work with, the greater our awareness expands, and we're also tapped into, we can end up becoming sensitive to all the other things, because we become more aware that there's so much out there that, it can be, oh my gosh, what do I do with all this energy? So you kind of have to go back within yourself and say, okay, you know, and decide, you know, what is it that's going to make me feel good? You know, what is it that's going to be, what would be the best contribution to me at this time? What would be, you know, supportive? You know, what makes me feel inspired? Is there something that is feeling kind of like a little bit dull? Just like, you know, I reached a point that, you know, after we concluded with the Science of Getting Rich, you know, it was very, very short to the point, and I was like ready to move on to something else. And then when I tried to put myself back into that, to be in a repetitive habit of every single day, I realized I wasn't needing that. That must have been why I was, you know, but then there was something else I needed. I really needed to work on some more with, you know, to kind of reinforce the habits, you know, of applying the principles, as opposed to listening to something that I was starting to get bored with. And so I kind of stopped doing that, went on and started listening to something else in the same stuff, and tune in like recently. You know, I had already listened to the audio version of The Power, and I had been doing some other readings, like with the Think and Grow Rich, one of the chapters I wanted to challenge myself to doing more of. And then I had to really pay attention to realizing, recognizing, oh, it's starting to get a little boring to me, or a little bit redundant, or it's not quite as, you know, got that feeling of being content. And so, and checking in, what is that about? Okay, well, is this because I need to move on? I need to be doing something else? What's the message here? So asking those inquiring questions, what's the message here? What is the best contribution, or what is it that's going to ignite that, you know, keep me going on? So now I realize, oh, here's something totally different I haven't really listened to, was like the ABCs of success. There was something about that I was, it was being called for me to listen to that. I was like, okay, I'm going to listen to this today then. And, you know, and so that's the way, you know, you kind of have to learn your language, recognize what those messages are, and keep checking in with yourself. Trust yourself.
Here, I have another question to ask you.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, who was that? Who was asking this question earlier?
Oh,
Hello?
this was Callie that was just sharing, but that was, I think it was Kathy, wasn't it?
Kathy, are you here?
Yes.
Okay, Kathy. I forgot. Damn, I wanted to ask you a question. Oh, there it is. Okay. In anything that you're doing, like in your 3 groups, do you have any accountability?
No, not really. It's up to me, and that was one of the reasons why I actually joined the coaching program with Bob, because it's 13 months, and it's not that they coach you and hold your hand, because they don't, but what I realized is that before I would read something and go, oh, that's really interesting, and I could, you know, spout off what I knew to other people, but I wasn't applying. And a friend of mine who had studied Bob 15 years ago, that I met him online through trading, had said that Bob was about action. And I realized, you know, that's what's missing in my life. I can read all this, but am I applying it? And so, you know, I'm in the coach group, and in this group, it's like I'm applying it. And so I'm coming up with what works for me as far as gratitude. You know, I'm listening to what Peggy said, and it's like, okay, in the morning, sometimes I have 7, sometimes I have 10. It's like, okay, I do gratitude through the day. I'm, you know.
Kathy, I have something else for you. Okay. There are 2 things or 3 things to happen for something to happen. Okay, does that make sense? You need 3 things to happen for something to be to happen, to be real. Okay, like whatever you believe, or whatever success, or whatever job, whatever relationship, whatever it is. Okay, I think you need 3 things, and that's just my own personal thing. First, you need to do all that visualization, whatever, gratitude, and all that. That's one. What's missing in many areas is taking action. That's number two. Very often, right? Very often there's only one or the other. And the other thing that's missing very often is the support. Okay? What I mean by the support is this. That will support you to do whatever you want to do so that you don't go on turning to this coaching, into this group and such anymore. And you take the action and you have the gratitude and all that. It will happen. But it will only happen when you have these three in place. That's me. Have so much, learning and all that. Great. If there's no action, obviously, it won't happen. The other thing is you can also take action, but with the wrong people, the wrong support, or the wrong thing. But if you have the right support, the right environment, and the right thing around you, right, and that's your dream team, that's when success happens. That's when the fabulous stuff happens. Whatever you manifested, whatever you had in your mind, whatever you believed in, that's when it happens. Follow me there?
Agree.
I agree with you. However, but there is one other exception to this. And the perfect example is in SOGR Ch is Barnes.
Is what?
Barnes. Barnes was the guy that went to go into partnership with Edison. And this is it's quite strange you brought this up, but it's not. Synchronicity happens all the time. I was thinking about this earlier today. And I thought to myself, why is it that some people, because I was thinking to myself, there are people that just go ahead and do things and they don't really need, any external influence. So what is it?
Yeah.
And I realized
that
it's a burning. You look at Barnes, he had a burning desire, but his burning desire was so hot that he didn't need anybody else. Now, so the theory, and this is a theory that I built on today, which was, if you've got a burning desire like Barnes did, and you don't really need any external help whatsoever. There isn't anything. You don't even have to understand how these things work, because if you want something so bad, the faith, the belief, the effort, the action are all going to happen. You don't even think about it. However, if you're on a start like I was, and I wasn't sure where I was going with anything, I didn't really have a goal. I didn't really know where I was going, what I needed, what I wanted to do, what my direction was going to be. Then that's when you actually need all that big package, just like you said, and it is a package. And the support, which you mentioned, Natalie, you can't agree very, very strongly in that. If you've got the right kind of support, you will go anywhere and everywhere. But if you've got the wrong support, you need to.
For sure. Let me give you an example, right? Why I'm saying this, guys, okay? Many of you, I'm a new mom, okay? I can tell you being a new mom has changed me a lot. And I don't know how many times I'm going to say this to people. That journey, I have learned so much about myself, my strength, and support system. And what I mean, and yes, what I mean by support, because there are things which you need other people to help you on. If it's something that you don't need help on, that you can do, and yes, the burning desire can be there. But if the burning desire is there, but you don't have the support system, like on the table, and there's no 4 legs, it can fall down. What I mean by that is this. Example, breastfeeding. I don't know if you guys know, breastfeeding is very, very tedious, and it's very, very hurting, painful at the beginning. For me, it was more painful than the delivery itself, like excruciating pain every time. However, I knew that breastfeeding was the best thing for my baby. I'm still breastfeeding him right now. It takes a toll on me, I know, but it's the best thing for my baby. At the beginning, not everyone was against me. What I want to say is, I had the support to do it. I had some support and not so much support. And what I mean by this is, some people told me, yes, do it. Like the doctor was telling me, the lactation consultant come to the hospital, they say, yeah, you had to do it. But yeah, do it, but how? I don't know how to do it. Just put the baby to the nipple and then he would do it. But no, he's not doing it. And when he does it, like, it hurts like hell. Like, what the heck, right?
But it turns out to be that this is how it is at the very beginning, because you just delivered a baby, right? And when people explain to me things, I was already so tired anyways. When the lactation consultant was coaching me on how to breastfeed, what angle to put his body and what angle to put his nose, I was like, oh, that's how you do it. But again, when she taught me to how to do it, when I go home the next day, I cannot do it because I don't know how to do it still, because you need to have practice. So what I meant by support was this. Yes, you have that burning desire. I had this burning desire to breastfeed my baby despite the pain, the frustration, and feeding him by the syringe and with a wire. Like, oh my God, the mess on the carpet, like fights with my husband, even though you are sleep deprived. And with that burning desire, I had the support. I convinced my husband to help me and bring me out to the lactation consultant. I had my mom to help me. She was against me breastfeeding, but she was there. In the end, she wasn't convinced. So the lactation consultant helped me, so I had the support from them. So what I mean by this is, yes, you had to have the burning desire, but there's certain things which you cannot do by yourself. And if you cannot do, you need the support. And if you can do, yeah, by all means, you have your desire, you have the goals, you know what to do, just do it. Yes, it's taking the action, and whatever you visualize will be there. So, it's a bit of everything, like what Krista said, right? Like the desire, and for me, it's the support, because, guys, I had no clue what I was doing. I had no clue. I like everybody booked it. So,
we'll be discussing this on Tuesday, because we're going to be, on Saturday with desire. But because it got me thinking, I was reading about desire, and it got me thinking. It's like, I think for a lot of people, why they don't have the burning desire is the lack of confidence.
Yeah.
Like, how can you? I don't know. I think for a lot of people, they may have dreams and goals, but they just don't have the confidence or the belief that they can do it. So, how does one, if you're dealing with someone who doesn't have the confidence, how does one gain that confidence to gain that burning desire?
Okay.
Instead, I'm a day trader, and I have not been the most confident person, I've come to realize, in my life. And it was my husband who kept telling me how good I was. After years, I was like, I actually am good at this. He was imprinting on my subconscious more than I was. And so it's like, how does one get that self-confidence so that they can work on that burning desire?
I've heard people say and claim to use that confidence formula that's talked about in Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
To say that to yourself for 30 days.
Yep.
It takes 21 days to change, to get used to a new habit. But if but try that, see if it helps.
Well, and then it goes in there, spend 10 minutes a day on the development of your self-confidence. And so, it's the literal person in me. It's like, okay, well, what do I do for those 10 minutes to develop the self-confidence? And someone said, affirmations. So that's what I've been working on, and I have found it helpful. And I'm wondering, what other tools have people use to help with that self-confidence other than affirmations and maybe visualizing? Is there
build your self-esteem. Build your self-esteem. Build your self-esteem and your self-image.
Go ahead.
Sorry, the idea behind the self-confidence formula, the reason it's called that is, if you look at the first part, it tells you to set a goal and a time limit for it, and to repeat it in the morning and in the night. So as soon as you get up and just before you go to bed, there's a reason for it. And the reason behind it is more to do with the fact that what you're doing is that you're instilling an idea of where you want to be in a certain time and how much you're going to get. That's it. The idea is to do with money. Now, I've come to a personal conclusion that what it actually does is that it doesn't actually overcome, how can I put this? it doesn't deal directly with a lack of confidence. What it does is that when you start repeating this in your own mind, it actually goes from a want to a burning desire. Because what I was trying to do at the beginning, I was trying to find something that I had a burning desire for. And then I had to read the chapter on desire again to understand what Barnes did. And like you said, we're going to cover it, but I'll skim over it. What he did was, what he wanted to do with Edison was not a burning desire at the beginning. It's something that went from a wish to a want to a hoping to something else to a burning desire. So it was a progression. And by repeating the formula again and again and again, you're putting that image in your mind and you're telling your mind, this is what I want. And it goes from, this is what I want, right, I really want this because I'm telling you this is what I want. And eventually it comes to a point where you are consciously thinking about it without even reading about it. You'll find you've stopped reading like a self-confidence formula because you don't need to read it anymore, because you've already got yourself to the point where you want to reach that, you want to achieve it. Now, to help you along the way, to instill that self-confidence, I'm actually using something that I've developed myself now. I don't say to myself, I don't use affirmations. I use what I call reminders. I remind myself that I'm already confident. I remind myself that I am already abundant. Because if we go by all what we've been told and what is true, is that all the abundance, everything that you've ever wanted for yourself is already out there. You just need to bring it to yourself. And therefore, it already exists within us to be able to do it. So we're just reminding ourselves. It was there before we came to this physical body. It'll be there when we leave this physical body. So all we're doing is reminding our spiritual selves exactly that. Okay, now we're going deep with this. However, I use reminders. I don't use a thing called affirmation anymore. To affirm is like telling myself, right? Listen to what I'm saying. I'm telling myself something. To me, that means that I'm forcing myself to listen to something, to put something in my mind, which creates resistance. So I've moved away from that. Do you understand, Kali?
I don't mean to interrupt, but is that another way of strengthening the will to overcome and override everything else?
Exactly.
Is that what you're trying to decide?
Yeah. So instead of affirming it, I'm reminding myself. You know, it's Kali with you.
I like it.
You know, it's like being a writer. You know, I want to be a writer. I want to be a writer. I can see myself being. Remind yourself, I am a writer.
Yep.
I'm reminding myself today that I am a writer. Try saying that to yourself, and you're going to feel different, because you're not actually forcing it. If you feel like you're forcing it, don't say it. The point is, always say something that feels good. So with all of these things, with self-confidence, when you don't have a confidence about doing something, go to something that you do feel confident about. So if you say to yourself, I don't feel confident about thinking about writing a book, but I do feel confident about writing an essay. Brilliant. Write an essay. It might be an essay that's about 250,000 words, but it's an essay as far as you're concerned. And you might have a few breaks in between paragraph headings, but it's still an essay. If you're happier saying that to yourself rather than saying I'm writing a book, because writing a book causes resistance, and go back and say I'm writing an essay because I'm happy writing essays. So write your essay. You've got to go with how you feel. It's always with how you feel. It's so important. If you feel resistance, go take a step sideways, a step back. You know, Bob says this quite nicely. He says, an airplane, all it does is to get from A to B. If it just stayed on a straight line, it wouldn't reach its point. It's got to adjust. And that's what this journey is about. Every now and then you've got to adjust. And it's the same with everything else. When you're looking at something, you say, I don't have the confidence to do that. remember, by saying that already, you're telling yourself you don't have the confidence. So for a start, you've got to listen to your self-talk. That is so important. The way you think about yourself, you know, all of this stuff is so important. I mean, I've got to catch myself nowadays doing all of this. When, you know, if I say something, I'm going to say, whoa, hold on, Harrison, what are you saying? So I catch myself and I say, right, what I mean is, yeah, so I'm correcting myself halfway through a silly conversation. I'm correcting myself even on my own self-talk, which is a little bit weird when you're saying it out loud and there's people in the elevator with you, but it does matter. So you do it yourself, right? So they might give you a few weird looks, but it's okay. They'll deal with it in their own way. They might even just ignore you. The thing is, you've got to feel confident in the fact that you can do this. We all can. You know, I've always believed this. I trained to be a chemistry teacher, and I couldn't do the job because the system basically said some kids are stupid and some kids are bright, and there's a few in between. And I thought, you know, there's something wrong with this, because I've always believed that anybody and everybody can be whatever they want. And someone once said to me, well, you know, what about that kid over there if he wants to be a brain surgeon? I said to him, if he's got it in him and he believes that he can be a brain surgeon, and this is before I even understood all of this stuff. We're talking about 20 odd years ago. I said, if he believes he can, then I'm sure he can. I'm sure he can. I didn't know anything about this. But even though I believed it about others, I didn't believe it about myself. How much of an oxymoron is that, right? It's like sweet and sour. I'm saying they're sweet, but for me it's sour. It doesn't work. You can't have one and the same, but I was doing that. And I never realized it until very recently, like since a year ago. And, you know, this is the thing about self-confidence. It's something which you don't necessarily build it up from nothing, because you've already got the confidence to speak up about it. You see?
Right.
Does that make sense? You're already talking about it. So you've already got the confidence to talk about it. So you do have self-confidence because you're willing to talk about self-confidence. You know what I mean? It's a bit, this is one of those things where you think, oh yeah, oh, that's a bit weird. So I'm talking about my self-confidence. I don't have self-confidence, but I'm willing to talk about it. And you think, that's a bit weird.
Yeah, I mean, I had some, and it's improved. And my husband, you know, because we talk about it, he studies with me to some degree, and so that's really nice that we have that common theme with us. And you know, he says people get confidence by taking action and growing, and it's like, it's so true. You can't just read about everything, which I tend to do, because we're both day traders. He works full time also, and we're so different because he takes the action and I'm focusing on the mind. So I'm like, this is just going to be a beautiful combination of the principles and taking action. So
yeah.
This is the thing between the word faith and the words applied faith. Faith, believe that is the belief that you can do something even though you can't say it. Okay, that's faith. You cannot say it, but you believe that you can do it. Whereas belief is like the glass that I've got in front of me. That's a glass. That I'm believing that that's a glass because I can say it. That's belief. But faith is knowing that when I go and turn on the tap, I'm going to get water in that glass because I can say it. That's faith. I know that will happen. It's also expectancy. Now, but no matter how much I want that water in the glass, unless I actually move my backside of this chair with the glass and go and put it under the tap and turn the tap on, I'm not going to get water in there. So that is exactly the same with action. By doing something, you're showing that you've got faith that it is going to happen. But you're also increasing your own self-confidence in the sense that you're believing that that is actually going to happen. See, the thing with confidence is that it disappears and it dissipates very, very quickly when you have faith that something will actually happen. And your confidence in that subject disappears. See, it's something that I recognized as well. I was thinking, why am I so confident in that, but not in that? And the answer was because I've got so much knowledge in that, but in the other thing, I have none. Right.
Yeah. I call it situational confidence. Like I'm a knitter and I'm an experienced knitter and I am very confident in being able to knit anything because I have the experience.
Yeah.
But there's some people that just have a general, and I've come to realize it's from my childhood and what I thought confidence meant versus what it actually is. And I realize it's having, for me anyways, I believe it's like having the belief that, I can do anything if I put my mind to it.
Exactly.
And that's huge. And now, but it doesn't mean you have to, everything. It just means that you will figure out what you need to along the way to get it accomplished.
Bravo.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
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 That was huge. That was huge for me because I thought I didn't have confidence because I thought everyone knew how to do everything but me. It was like, well, no. But, again, it's from childhood and being told to do something and not doing it and then being criticized thinking, well, I'm just dumb because everyone else, must know how to do it but me. So,
you know what?
Oh,
like you have to start somewhere. You have to start somewhere. Everyone has to start somewhere, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So for you in your day trading, right, your confidence, right, I think that also it comes down to, yes, you are confident, but you want to feel more confident or something like that. It's like something's missing. I think that's what you're trying to say, right? You're confident, but not totally confident, I guess, right? So that you have answered your own question right now. Is this Kathy, right? Kathy, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kathy, right?
Yeah.
You have to answer your own question. You just said that you have been taught whatever when you were a kid, and then it's because you haven't done it and you have to learn it. And that's how confidence comes. And that's part of taking the action. And that's what many, many people miss. And I learned that the hard way as well. I had to tell you as well, is this. If you don't get confidence from the doing it, okay, talk about me breastfeeding, or let's talk about presentation when I just came to Canada, okay, speaking in English. I had to tell you, I did not even know how to speak in English or even say hello. I was so shy, like anybody who's new to the country, right? So for me to overcome my shyness or become good speaking or whatever it is, I have to do it. Do you think I had the confidence to do it the first time? Hello, no, right? However, as I did, I became better and better and better. So for you in your day trading business, maybe I don't know where you are now, maybe that's what it is. You have to do more and more and more, or maybe learn from someone else as well who's better in that area, because I had to learn from other people, right? So then you become better, then you build that confidence. There you go. You have answered your own question. You had to practice and you had to start learning from somewhere. And there we go. See?
Oh, I've come a long way, and I feel like my goal in 2 years is like, no problem, and it's just a case of doing and being consistent and just doing it day after day after day and repeating and reminding myself daily of what a good trader I am and focusing on my goals, and it's all good. So I'm on the right track.
Good. And when you tell yourself when you tell yourself you're a good trader, if somehow doubt comes to you, I would ask you this question. I would ask this question to myself. I would say, okay, I'm a good trader. Then doubt comes is, why do you think you're a good trader? You're so bad or whatever you say, right? Then you will ask yourself, well, I'm a good trader. And you want to know why doubt? It's because of this, da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. Now shut up. You know what I'm saying? That's what you do.
That's what I do, right? To talk to you, I know you can go nuts sometimes.
No, I love it. No, that's good.
Right? Yeah, because it's all in that internal voice that you have. Now, there's two voices, the good voice and the bad voice. Obviously, we all have that. Now, that's the bad voice the doubt voice, that's what you have to kill. Not kill, but, shut down, because you don't want doubt, which it could be something that stops you. So you want to kill it. It just says, well, what you get to know, doubt? Tell me, bring it on, because me, I like to fight in my own way, right? I like to debate, right? So I'm like, okay, bring it on. Why do you think I'm like that, doubt? You got no clue, right? I can tell you I am a very good day trader because I'm this and I'm learning that and I discovered this and I discovered this. I didn't know all this before, and I'm better than any new traders because they don't know this before, and I can even teach this to them. So what you got against me, doubt? Nothing? Then shut up.
Well put.
Thank you.
I'll agree with that. There's only one little thing, Natalie. I've come across people who don't actually want to face it. They don't want to look back. And the answer came to me, it's fear. And they don't want to face, look at why something comes up and why isn't working, why it's working in a certain way is not working in a certain way. And I came across the answer in two ways. And one of them was Abraham Hicks, the other one was Dr. Dyer. And they both say, and the good analogy that Esther Hicks gave to Abraham Hicks was, Esther and Jerry got in a car, and Esther put the GPS on, and they started going on the trip. And Jerry thought that it was a little bit strange because he was he felt in the opposite direction they were going. So he takes him on the road, puts them on the highway, and they start going north on the highway, for example. Then it tells them to come off, do a right. They do a right again, back on the highway, going in the opposite direction. And they were basically, it just took them 10 minutes out of route to go in the direction that they need to go. And Esther says, wouldn't it be interesting if we went back to the beginning, did the same thing again, and see whether it's the GPS that went wrong, or whether it was me that went wrong. And Jerry turns around and says, well, why don't we just stay right and in the direction we're going? And I didn't quite understand this until someone mentioned it in one of the groups, and I thought, now I get it. And the point that we're trying to make was, if you find yourself and you're actually going the right direction, there is no need to look back to what was going wrong if you're now going right. Let it be.
Agree.
Because what you do is that whatever was wrong initially, it's going to disappear. Now, I used to actually think to myself, well, that doesn't make any sense, because you've got to face your fears. You've got to face what was wrong, so you know where you went wrong. And then I caught myself like that. And I thought, I don't need to know what went wrong, because if I am on the right path, why do I need to go back and stress myself over something that I'm no longer needing to stress over? I thought, by the way, I'm actually talking to myself like this on a daily basis. Thankfully, there's nobody in the house when I'm talking like this. But when you're doing that, you think to yourself, that makes sense. However, I think there are certain situations where there is, the certain fears that we have that are so embedded, we do need to face them, whether we want to or not. Is certain things that every now and then we find ourselves coming across a certain something, and it becomes a massive block. I mean, I found that it's one thing there's something with me that I had to face rather than just keep going forward, because it kept taking me back. It was like a reset switch that was taking me backwards, and I thought, why is it? And I had to face it, because even though I was going forward with other things, I had to face that one thing. And maybe we've all got it. I'm hoping that we don't. There's very few of us that do. But if you will find yourself on the right path and you're going down the right road and everything's flowing and everything's nice, it's relaxed and it's working, fine, stay there. Just stay there. And when it starts to take you to the side, or if there is a reset, ask yourself, right, what happened there and why was there a reset? Because if it happens once or twice, then there's a reason for it. And it's got to be something deep embedded. But if it doesn't happen, who cares? Seriously, just stay on the right path.
You know, and Bob says, he says, there's two things you need to know: where you are and where you want to go, where you want to be.
Yeah.
And so many of us, one day my husband and I, we were driving to my in-laws about 5 hours away, and he was talking about a self-limiting belief about trading, and he's like, you know, I need to figure out where that comes from. And I said to him, I said, like, well, who cares where it came from? You're aware of that self-limiting belief. Now, so you know where you are, where do you want to be, and, you know, make the changes along the way to get there.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what you're saying. It's like we all have self-limiting beliefs, and once we're aware of them, you know, oftentimes, and I like to overanalyze things or analyze things, it's like, well, where did that come from in my childhood or whatever? And it's like, so like I told my husband, I go, okay, so you identify where it came from. You're still going to have it. You're still going to be where you are, but you spent all this energy focused on the problem. So be aware of the issue and now work towards resolving it and moving forward. And that's the attitude I've taken, because so often I focused on the problem and focused on it and where it came. Now it's like, it is what it is. I want to improve it. How am I going to improve it and get rid of that self-limiting belief?
If I may,
go ahead.
Yeah, if I may add, this is where personal coaching comes in. We each have our own thing from the childhood. And if you, very often, you won't know, if you know that if you're very close to your subconscious mind, you would be able to easily identify where, when in your childhood, this moment happened. And in our timeline, this is where, if it's there, but then you want to also, you know, when the iron is very hot, right? But then what you want to do is not make the iron too hot or make it cool down now. So that's when the personal coaching comes in. And that's what, for me, like I've gone through that, because I did not realize that for me that, you know, I had so many stuff from when I was younger that came up. And the other thing which I was saying myself in the past very often was, well, if the people in the library can understand my English, why would the students understand my English too when I was presenting to the class, right? But that was myself making this up, right? So now I know all this now, right? So before I didn't know any of that, obviously not. But again, that's through personal coaching. From group coaching, you will never get that, because what you have in your own childhood and my childhood would be different. We could be resolving the same issue, which is confidence. Confidence in trading, me confidence in presentation, for example. However, in my mind, at that very particular moment in my life, that's when it happened, whatever it is different from yours. And that's why very often personal coaching is the best thing ever. And that's why it's not cheap. It's because of the value and how your life changes after that. And I've seen it, and I've been there, and I've, you know, that's what I offer to as well inside. But that's the greatest thing. And for you, if you want to reach that, I really hope that you will do whatever you have to do, because I think that you are close to knowing where you are and what's your self-limiting belief is, and you're willing to do it, and you just need someone to help you identify it and release it and make it be permanently gone for you. If it's not gone, but lower the iron, make it not too hot, but less hot, if you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
If we go back to the analogy about you talking and doing presentations in English. Now, let's go on the assumption, you said you did it initially. However, if you carried on, and for example, if we go with the presentations, if you speak once, then you're still nervous. If you do it 2 or 3 times, the nervousness begins to dissipate and disappear. By the time you've done your 10th presentation and you've done your 10th talk, you're not going to think about it again. So, you know, this is why I say, for me, and I've seen this in a lot of people now, in the sense that when you start looking at, you know, you start going to the part of regression and to find out, you know, what and why there was a problem in the past. What you're doing is that you're actually concentrating on a problem, which, if we go into what Bob Proctor calls a paradigm, then what you're saying is that you're actually creating a paradigm and you're creating a problem. Whereas if you say to yourself, I'm going to look at the solution to it, rather than looking at what the problem was, the solution is to, if you're on the right path, and even though initially you think to yourself, you know, what can I do about this? The answer is action. Action overcomes everything. It overcomes a lack of confidence. It overcomes a lack of belief. It overcomes a lack of faith. Because by acting, you're showing faith and confidence in yourself. So in reality, if we start talking about, you know, let's go back and have a look at why there was a problem, we're saying that a problem exists. And this is something which I believe on a personal basis, and I don't think I'm the only one, to be honest, is that when you start looking at that side, all you're doing is that you're making a problem arise rather than looking at how to resolve it. I'll give you a better example. And if you want to have this is for all of you guys, if you want to have a really good laugh about how men's and women's brains work, there's a thing called A Tale of Two Brains by a minister called Mark Gungo on YouTube. All right, it's about 2 hours long. You only need to watch the first 30 minutes. It's absolutely amazing. But what he says is this: the majority of ministers, when they get a couple going in, they always say to them, what is the problem? And they try to solve their problem. But it says the problem never gets resolved because they're trying to solve a problem which persists. So he decided to try something else. He said, so where is everything right? So rather than actually looking at your partner, he said to both sides, look at the good side, which is the reason why you got together in the first place. And look at that. Look at the positive. And by doing that, he found that more couples worked their way forward than the other way. The reason is because you're looking at the positive, not the negative. And this is we're going back to, this is the whole concept. Everything goes back to one thing. And that is, look at what you want, not what you don't want. Don't look at the problem. You look at the solution, what's going right. Look at what you like and not at what you don't like. Go for what makes you feel good and makes you happy and joyous, all of the good emotions, rather than the emotions that make you fear, make you depressed, unhappy, don't like doing it. So rather than going towards the side, trying to, you know, where was it and what happened and why is it happening, why not look at the other side and say, right, where, and this is what Tony Robbins does. And he says to him, don't look at that side, look at where you can be. Project yourself to their place where you can be. And this is how I've told people how to overcome the fear barrier, because people call it a fear barrier. Now, think about those two words. Fear, which is fear, barrier, there's a barrier. So you're actually reinforcing the word fear. However, I said to him, look at your fear barrier. Right. Look at yourself now where you are. Go, don't forget about that little wall or whatever you consider your fear barrier to be. Look at you, project yourself on the other side of that wall. Tell me what you see. And people will always start saying, oh, I see this, 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 and this. I said, right. So where's the fear? And the fear is gone. The fear is gone because all of a sudden they've put themselves where they want to be, not where they don't want to be, which is in the present, in front of that fear barrier or in front of that wall. The world is in our minds. We create everything. Even everything that's happened previously to our lives, this is everything which has become the package which we've accepted, and we've said, yes, that's our little box, and this is where we all are, and that includes the ego. Whereas if you just shed that and you just say to yourself, right, who am I and what is my true self? Your true self is, where do you want to be? What is it that you want to be, do, and have in your life? And focus on that. Just that. Forget everything else. It makes no difference. I will stand with you on one point, though, Natalie, in that, you know, it's not everything that we need to overcome, but there are certain things which are so deep embedded that, you know, like I said before, it doesn't matter how far forward you want to get. It's something that, you know, you do need to overcome. And there are times when you need one-to-one coaching to help you overcome that. But there are times when you can do it yourself as well. It doesn't always work. So I think what you point, Natalie, is valid. But only in the cases where, you know, if there is something which is constantly pulling you back, that is when it gets really, really difficult. And if you do find yourself getting pulled back for any reason, then there's got to be something. I've known a couple of people that have had to do it as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If it's something that's constantly coming to pull you back.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, Natalie, that's the one. Or the one you put on Skype, that's the one. Yeah.
The one I put on? Okay, thanks.
Hello. I just checked in to see if everyone was still here. Hi. Oh, you're still here. Hi.
We're having a great mastermind here, Nicole. Thank you.
I'm having a mastermind with 4 toddlers. I'll see if I can get them to say hello. Hang on. Hey, everybody, say hello.
Hi.
Say hello.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
They're looking at me like on mullets going, what are you on about, lady? Say, Chloe, say hello. What about Bubble? Bubble? No.
Hey, kids, come on, you got to say hello. Let's get happy. Who's going to start clapping?
Oh.
Clap.
Hello.
They're looking at me like, what are you on about?
Yeah, they're just looking at thinking there's a lot of crazy
people. Say hello
to. Nicole, they just think there's a lot of crazy people on the other side of this thing. You know what I mean? There's a box and there's a lot of crazy people on the other side of it.
On the other side of the world.
I've just popped my head out of the office. They're all sitting at the table eating morning tea, and I've got this headset on, and they're just looking at me like, what are you doing?
Oh, it's been a great conversation.
Yeah, I hope that you benefited from it.
Yes, I know I did. And I just really appreciate everybody's input.
You're welcome.
And we'll talk more when we do Desire this Saturday.
Oh, guys, I will be here on Saturday.
We're doing it in 2 parts.
Okay.
So next week we're doing the second part of Desire. So.
Oh, next 2 weeks I won't be here. Sorry. Next time I will be here after. Next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yes. I just say thank you to everyone for a wonderful call.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, great input from everybody. I just love it. I've learned so much from these 2 groups and the discussions that we all have and the openness. And I'm just very grateful, so grateful to have both groups.
Yep, me too. Yep. I'm happy to share too as well.
Yep.
Yeah. It's good. It's good learning.
Always.
Yes. So everyone have a great week. And next week we start the power.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
Me too. I've listened to it. I've gone through it like once, but you know, I ordered the book, so I have a hard copy of it. I'm starting a library. Instead of just having all these PDFs, I want to have my library of books that I want to keep for life.
Let me see if I have it. I hope I have it too as well. Oh boy.
I sent the PDF to everyone, so you have it in PDF.
Yeah.
And then if you have a Kindle or a Nook or whatever, you can always convert the PDF. There's online converters, so you can convert the PDF to whatever format your ebook is. So you can read it on there too. It may not be perfect, but...
Oh, I don't have one. I don't have a Kindle. I don't. My husband has one. I don't have one though.
Well,
I don't have a phone when I'm breastfeeding my baby.
You can hold on. Someone posted the audio of.
I did.
Yeah, there
Could
you go.
Again, do you mind, please? Could you
Yeah,
please?
it was a Dropbox link. If you go into the Science of Getting Rich group, I think Facebook, I think the link's in there also.